was always stressful.
Yes, hello. I am Mr. Beat. I think you know that, but if you don't, I am. And I am going to be joined by a special guest again for this live stream. Thanks for being here, first of all.
Oh,
If
thanks
you're
for having me.
watching, sorry, I'm talking to the audience right now. You're
Oh,
not even
sorry.
on the screen yet. Shh, shh. What are you doing? You're messing it up.
Oh,
Gosh. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to introduce my special guest. His name is Caelan, and he has a channel called Atlas Pro. And here's my little story how I stumbled upon his channel. I guess it was a little over a year ago, probably. The algorithm recommended to me a video about, on the thumbnail, I remember vividly, it was very eye catching. It was like Florida underwater and like places that will be underwater in our lifetime. And I watched the video and I was captivated and I was like, wow, this is a channel I want to follow. But I was also amazed that I hadn't heard of it until only like a year ago. But it's an amazing channel. It's called Atlas Pro. And then crazy Kailyn from the channel reached out to me on Twitter and he's like, I watch your stuff. And I'm like, it was really trippy. So apparently we had seen each other's stuff. And so we began chatting on Twitter. And then now I'm going to get to know him even more. So I'd like to introduce Kailyn from Atlas Pro. Welcome.
hey everyone, thank you. That was a very interesting story. I'd never heard that before.
Oh yeah, I don't think
I always find it interesting, like hearing how like people find each other on YouTube.
Well, that was the video. Of course, that was the video that caught my attention. It was such a good thumbnail. And then guess what the second one was that I watched of yours?
I don't know.
You have a lot of melting videos, like water flooding.
Oh yeah, for sure.
In fact, there's at least one today.
Yeah, for sure. That's a time-honored tradition.
Well, you got to keep doing what people love. But no, the second one was what if Antarctica melted? And
those are some of my strongest performers. I'll tell you right now. Those are. God bless those videos alone.
You got to stick with them.
Have the most. But
yeah. Well,
I kind of regret that first one, the flooding one, a bit, just because I feel like I didn't really get to explain how flooding works as well as I think I would have wished. That's how they always go. But
yeah,
it's just people think it's one thing, and then everyone interprets it, everything differently, and
that's how I feel about
mess in the comments. And that's obviously the most commented on video I have, because it's about climate change and it's about things that people want to fight about in the comments.
Yeah,
but also brings in a lot of people, and that's,
that's
why you make those videos.
My worst president's video is one that I have lots of regrets about, because I didn't like, people didn't even know my criteria. I was like, well, that would have been nice to lay down. But I'm going to redo that someday. So
yeah, that's always the great thought is, well, that would have been nice to include. Yeah, you're right about that.
4 million views later, you're like, oh, crap.
I'm not just rushed through the entire process. Yeah, on second thought, more explanation would have been nice. You're right. Everyone's right.
Yeah, so I guess for those of you wondering, if you're not familiar, this is now pretty much a series, and I think I'm going to still post it as a podcast when I find some time, but it's called 10 Questions. And so the premise is I have a guest on, and now it's Atlas Pro. I previously have had JJ McCullough, I've had Atunshai and Stefan Milo. So you're my fourth guest, very special.
Oh yeah.
And
I wanted to be a founding guest, that's why I reached out to you.
Yeah, that's all right. But I have 10 questions to ask, and ask him, and he has 10 questions to ask me. We don't know each other's questions ahead of time. And so it's like, who knows? Anything goes. It's very open-ended. We could literally ask each other something simple like, oh, what's your favorite color? Or we can ask a deep question like, what's the meaning of the universe? We just don't know. So as far as your chat, there's some folks here. If you have questions for Atlas Pro or me, I just ask that you try to hold off till the end of the stream. We'll be going a couple hours probably, and then we'll take questions then. But it's just time to get to know each other. And I don't know
Don't
you
say
that well, actually. So this will be. You're based out of is it New York? Is that right?
Yeah, New York.
Okay, yeah. So
You know, that's New York right out there.
oh yeah, totally. It looks just like Kansas. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, um,
All right.
you
So
wanna start off with your
yeah, I think it's a fun one. I think I sent you a link, and if
yeah.
you pull up your monitor, you'll find the page here. If we can find it, I'm looking at it too. The Kansas page for flags for vexology, or however you say it. And if you
Yeah.
scroll down, the beginning premise is Kansas has a pretty boring state flag. I think you're well aware. It's fine. It has good characters to it, right? It has like the sunflower is like real nice, and I think like I don't know, there's something to it that you could just add a little bit more to it. And as you know, as YouTube's premier Kansas YouTuber, I feel like it's only right to ask you to scroll a bit further down,
Okay.
keep scrolling, and
Wow.
there's so many ads. All right,
Oh.
here, proposals for the new flag of Kansas. So my new question, I don't know how to phrase it really, but you can keep scrolling down. Which of these
Wow.
is your new Kansas state flag?
Oh, man, these are good.
That's
All of them are better.
looking at things like this.
Oh, wow.
I
Oh,
was, does between deciding showing you Australia's, New Zealand's, but then I thought he's from Kansas. Let me show him. Let me find some Kansas ones.
I like the oddly shaped ones. Those always are. But this one even has the shape of the state on it, kind of. That's unique.
Pretty clever. I
This one,
feel like that would be in like every thumbnail of like 10 clever like flag things that you never noticed. Like number 10, Kansas's flag matches Kansas's shape.
this one here. Oh, good. I can keep it big. Like, this is very similar to KU, University of Kansas flag, and so I'm pretty biased towards this since that's my alma mater. My
I don't
wife
know.
also-
It's just, you want my honest opinion? The red and the blue, they kind of harsh on each other like that. The K.
Yeah, it's the
That does fit Kentucky though. I'll give or not Kentucky, Kansas.
see that's the thing. People might confuse it with Kentucky.
I kind of
No,
like that, to be honest. Just
yeah,
the
like
blue and I guess that's falling into the same trap that it's already in. It's just like a blue background with a yellow thing in the middle. But
there's a lot of sunflower ones, but I am. Ooh, no, not that one.
yeah, that like not the right color balance.
Yeah, when
Like, it
I did
kinda
a
looks
flag
like
tier list live stream, and people were mad because I wasn't judging them based on the history of the flags or how they came to be, and I was like, "No, this is all historical." I
Yeah,
said, "I'm only
at the end
about
of the day,
looks
this
here."
is a symbol, not like a story.
Yeah,
That one that like, the white and the blue stripe on the bottom with the bull and the cross, that basically is California, but California style, but Kansas. That one kind of looks pretty cool. I'll give it to it that I'm a fan of those.
wait, which one?
You scroll up,
Okay,
up. Yeah, there it is. It's right under the first one.
this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you were saying like it was like California. Okay, with the buffalo.
But
All right.
it kind of works. I feel like in a sense, like it works. I don't know. I really like the California style flag. I'll be honest. I might be
It's a good
biased.
flag. It's solid. I don't. I think this has potential, but as far as the final product, no. I at first I was drawn to this one, but then when I saw it closer up, I don't know if I like the colors so much, but I do. This is. I would say the one right next to it is almost like hypnotic. So I'm gonna go with this
Yes.
one. I think actually, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I mean, it's one of the sunflower ones for sure.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure. I think that's
I'm
a
annoyed
strong
by
character.
this one because it doesn't have the actual shape, but that's a solid one too. And then of course the weirdly shaped ones are good. But as far as the sunflower itself, I mean, plus it's like, I mean, this one pops. This is great.
All right.
So good job, Tech Mountain Dew. Tech Mountain
The-
Dew FTW.
Very
All
good
right.
job. I hope he's watching.
That'd be
Comment in the
amazing.
chat if you're watching.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
that's an easy question to start off with. I'll give you an easy one then.
I thought that would, ease us into things, let's
Icebreaker.
yeah, for sure. And definitely like the people who are just joining, who are just like, getting in and don't know what the conversation is. It's like cool things, colors on screen to look at.
Shout out to Grant,
Grant.
big supporter of mine, and I didn't know that Grant was also a fan of your channel, so that works out.
It's always interesting learning that.
Yes, crossover of audience. That's one of my favorite things ever. Okay, my first question for you. A lot of times we go out of order here based on how the conversation is going. I'm going to go with the ninth question I had, which is, if you have to sing karaoke, what song would you pick?
Oh man, I don't know. I have such a bad voice.
So you wouldn't do karaoke to begin with?
If I was at a bar with friends and there was karaoke, I would politely decline to do karaoke. I would not be one of the ones like, get out of my way. I'm singing. But thinking about what song to sing, I don't know. I really don't. Ask my girlfriend. I have such a bad singing voice. The ABCs is about all I can do with any confidence.
Well, you should hear some of my earliest songs that I made when I was a kid. Like, they're pretty bad. So, and now I at least can hold, some notes at a time. So don't give up if you really want to sing someday. Like,
I do sing sometimes, but like
in the shower.
it doesn't sound good unless the music is really loud.
Oh yeah.
It's one of those situations.
Death metal.
No, not like that. It's just like, unless I can't hear myself, then I just,
Man.
but I don't know.
Well, so yeah, just pick a song then.
Give me
That's
some time to think. Give me some ideas. What are some good karaoke songs?
I mean, my favorite one my go-to is "It's the End of the World as We Know It" by REM. Just because it's challenging, and I try to avoid.
See, that's not what I'm going for. If I'm going for karaoke, is challenging.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was funny because I was just we were watching Big Bang Theory because this is basically my family watches it all the time, and the episode where they're talking about Sheldon was, I don't know if you ever watched the show, but Sheldon was talking about Play That Funky Music, White Boy, and I was thinking, man, that would be a really fun one to do, because I like funky music and I'm a white boy. I don't know. That's inspiring anything? Come on now.
I am a white boy. You are giving me some some ideas. I'm not very funky. I feel like if I got really drunk, I could sing like "Cats in the Cradle" and "A Silver Spoon." I feel like I could get like a real soulful rendition of that for some reason. Cats in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy blue and the man on the moon, Like after a few shots, because you're at a karaoke bar or something, right? Like something's got to be wrong with me to the point that I'm singing. But if I am, you're getting some heart into that. That's my final.
Usually how it goes. Usually there's alcohol involved. People to go up there. All right. Well,
now should I
sorry
go? All my questions are on my phone, and it went blank. All right. So, question one or question two for me. This one's pretty simple, but I think you're gonna have an answer for it. I wrote a little prompt. I should remind you that I wrote all these questions like 2 months ago, and I didn't look at them until today again. So it was quite a surprise to see what I'd written for some of these. But my second question is: you talk enough about presidents and government. I wonder if that at all bleeds into a desire for you to run for office in any capacity. Is your talk about presidents from some abstract interest in the idea of them, or is there like an ulterior like study my my future motive behind it all?
Well, I can tell you, I would not want that job as president. and maybe when I was a kid, I would say, "Oh yeah, I want to be president."
Yeah.
Maybe when I was 8, I would say that. But the more I've learned about the position over the years, I'm just like that. Who would want that?
I think that's the much wiser answer.
Yeah, it's a.
When
I mean,
I wrote that question down, I realized that I don't want to be president, but I do want to be king. Like if I could just get my way, like no matter what, just like I say it, and then it just happens. Like I would love the job. Like the job sounds so fun, but to be a president and like all the politics that involves, no way. That sounds horrible.
well, in most countries, then it makes more sense to just to try to become a plutocrat. Just get a lot of wealth, and you can just buy politicians. And
Yeah.
I mean, you think about who runs things, and it's generally the people that have money, and a lot of times, like when in terms of, I think what people strive for in their own life, if you forget the fact that we're only on this planet for a very small blip, and in terms of like all of history, like we're pretty insignificant as a species even, but like we're all obsessed with our legacy, and so whatever we do when we're here, like even if we don't accumulate wealth or we don't accumulate power, we're worried about what happens after we die in relation to us. Remember me, and there's a certain point in my life where I was just like, I kind of accepted, like someday there will be no one else left that remembers me. And once you accept that, I think it helps you live your life a little bit better, a little bit more empathy. And because that movie Coco, by the way, does a terrific job. Because like the reason, I mean, you think about it. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I mean,
What a lot was happening in Coco when I watched it.
Oh, such one of the deepest movies I've ever seen. And like for a kid to watch that movie, they're not really getting it. So yeah. I think I recommend it for somebody who's a little older. Yeah, I mean, like legacy is so important. We don't really think about, I mean, just the idea of having a kid, like why do we really have a kid? Are we doing it because we want to?
I mean, we don't have a kid. We have a kid. You have a kid.
Oh yeah. I'm saying as a species, why? Yeah, you don't have a kid. Okay, I learned that about you. That you know of, right? No,
I'm kidding. Is that question 10?
Yeah, I have 2 kids.
Where were you?
And the only reason why I had them was immortality. I want so I could live on through them. After
that is like probably the best answer you could get.
I mean, let's be honest though.
Immortality. Like, how can you deny that? Like, yeah, sure, all right. Like, I guess. Doesn't everyone want immortality?
It kind of it sounds really bad, but
yeah, of course. It's just like that's the voice in your head, Everyone's voice is like immortality. But
we're trying to make ourselves always sound more morally superior, but like so much is just like our monkey brain. All right.
No interest in running for office is what your conclusion from all that is.
Well, I would say I would not want to run for federal office, but I could see myself at some point running local office, like maybe mayor or city council or something.
Dude, that's funny because I was, when I was thinking about this question and what you were going to say, I totally vote for you for mayor beat.
Well, thank you.
I feel like, I'll be one of your first endorsers if that's the case.
That's the thing, though. Nobody will know who. What? Because you don't live in town. You're some guy from New York has endorsed you.
Yeah, I mean,
he's never even been to Lawrence, Kansas.
The Kansas people had a vote.
Yeah, it's funny because there's I had an acquaintance, like a brother of one of my friends from high school and college. He was running for local office. And he was kind of seeking my endorsement, and I'm just like, it's not going to have any effect because most of the people that watch my channel they don't live in town, and he's running for local office. So yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, let me ask you a question related to.
Yeah, I think I have a few questions. I think that I might have to rearrange a few of these, but could have a whole discussion.
Well, I'll keep it broad for your channel because. Okay, you put this on your your little logo thingy on your front page of your YouTube. It's your 4 subjects: geography, geology, biology, and ecology. And I've primarily always thought of your channel as a earth science is kind of the first thing that pops in my head. But so what of those 4 things you listed: geography, geology, biology, and ecology, what's your favorite or what are you most
Well, you
passionate
kinda,
about?
you kinda hit the nail on the head is that, like, the overarching idea is earth science, and even more than that, I like to lean into the idea of, like, earth systems and earth science, earth systems as a combined thing, and the 4 main components of that are, the 4 pillars per se, the foundation are, in my view at least, those 4, geology, geography, biology, ecology. So they're all even. They all influence each other. I think geography is the very showy one of them all. Geography has the maps and all the cool things.
My favorite.
Geology is like the underwritten one. Geology people write off as like boring and about rocks. I've just finished a video. I'm gonna start working on a new one today, pretty much, and this one's about geology, and it's gotten me really changing my mind on that. And geology is a very interesting thing in and of itself. So I can't say it's my favorite. It's definitely not where I have my most like my deepest knowledge in, but it's definitely very fascinating. Biology is very fun too. It's like again, it has very showy things. It has animals. It has forests, and you get all good stock footage of biology a lot of the time.
Mhm.
But I think where it really comes together is ecology. Like ecology is kind of the whole channel is about the intersection of all of these things in one way or another. And I think the most interesting points are where they all intersect. Like I lately have been talking about biogeography. If whoever watches my channel will be well aware of that phrase by now, and that's really what it is. It's like it's where everything intersects, and it's looking at them all, treating them all as like different factors that get taken into account. And so I can't say I really have a favorite, but biogeography is like kind of where I'm going into, but they all are so interesting in their own way uh, that they just, I don't know, they get different representations in video. Like, what can you even show for geology a lot of the time? Like pictures of rocks, like that's not very engaging. It's like you have to show things that move, things that have like, resonance with people, like countries and animals. So just by virtue of YouTube, you go in directions of things people connect to. I think a lot of the time, at least, and that
Mm.
skews towards biology and geography. I feel like those are really popular. Uh, so that's how you draw in a big audience. But then once you're there, I've started getting them into the nitty gritty of it all. So I don't know. I like just 2 videos ago, 3 videos ago, I came up with a new science, astrobiogeography, after, it just, for fun. And it's like, that's really what it is though. It's like thinking about like, all right, we're learning about, biology, and then we're combining that with geography. And then we're going to think about space. And then we're going to, astrobiogeography, like think about all of these things together. And I don't know. It's like the fun is not one, it's using them all as different pieces, I guess, to understand,
Mhm.
the overarching Earth system or, universe system, whatever you want to call it. But altogether, I don't know. That's
Well, I think
ultimately it's all of them and none of them at the same time.
no, yeah, I think at the heart of it is it's pretty clear that you're passionate about um, our survival as a species, which and so when you
I have a
look at
vested interest in
it's
that.
through that lens. Yeah, you're looking at all this like it's that's one thing that I just watched. I'm sorry, this is all in my mind because I watched the George Carlin documentary on HBO. He's my favorite comedian,
I
and
love George Carlin.
yeah, like he is one of his.
Hilarious.
That's awesome. One of my famous his famous bits is about how like the Earth is going to be fine. We're like fleas to it,
Oh, yeah, I think
basically.
about that all the time.
Yes.
That sunk into my brain so early because I was so young. Like I'm pretty young compared to you, I think. But I got to watch him as a kid, and like that, I always think about that. Like the concern is not about the Earth. The concern is about us. Like the
Yes.
Earth has been hit by meteors. He's I don't know, that is really sunken into a big idea of mine too.
It's just crazy when you think about how the moon used to be part of the freaking Earth and how huge it
The
is.
moon.
Like it was that just broke off. What?
Yeah.
Are you?
Like, you're
I'm
telling me it did?
yeah.
Oh,
It's
no, sometimes I go for walks with my girlfriend, and I'll just, like, stare at the moon, like, the moon will just be visible, and I'll just be like, we'll be walking this way, and I'll just be staring, like, at the
are
side, like, "Look at
psychedelics
it, like,
involved?
it's
I
the
gotta ask.
moon," like, it's
Psychedelics
just
are not involved.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is amazing, and I guess like also another comedian that's similar, probably inspired by George Carlin, is Ricky Gervais, and I just watched his new special last night, and he had a whole bit about how like we always want to believe in the supernatural, but if you look at the natural, holy crap, it's pretty super. It's like
Yeah.
he was talking about duck-billed platypus, how like it can make a something to do, it lays eggs, but also can produce milk. Like, holy crap! Like, what? How?
That's
What the heck is
basically
going
every
on
day
with
for
this?
me. It's just, like, finding a new thing that's like, "Oh my god," like, "This
Yeah,
is
like if
incredible."
I mean, oh yeah, what a so I think that's why, like, it's when I think about the types of videos I watch for fun, I don't watch a lot of that stuff, surprisingly. But I think the reason is because it's usually presented in kind of a dry way, and so like I feel like your channel is kind of more. It's a gateway to like stuff that people already like. They just don't realize they like it because all those boring documentaries that we were shown in school growing up.
Yeah, it's funny because I cannibalize those now as, like, raw footage or something, and they're so interesting. I use, like, the diagrams and all the old textbooks, but it's really about presentation too, and, like, I get comments all the time about how it's only fun if the person you're watching is, like, engaged with it,
Mhm.
and I think that, I try to bring that into it. I try to make it something that I get excited about too, not just, to make a video, but to, like, actually get engaged in, like, I don't know, in the search for knowledge a lot of the time, or just, like, understanding and having fun with it, experimenting. That's what my new video today was all about. Was like the whole video was just an experiment of just, I raised sea levels by 2,000 meters. It's just like,
Yep.
let's just see what's there. Let's just see, if there's a peninsula there, cool. Let's talk about it. Like, oh, there's islands over here. Like, why not? Like,
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know. You really try to get into new things, I think, and that it really does. It's influenced by who you watch too. I think a lot of the time.
your graphics and animation are way better than mine, or probably way better than I'll ever be. Like, what programs do you use to produce your?
The casual stuff, the, like, edit in Premiere, animate
Yeah.
in After Effects, prepare stuff in Photoshop, whatever I need to do in Photoshop.
But the layers of like, in
Oh,
particular, the of Earth, like that's all on After Effects.
well, there's a little special sauce
Okay.
that I have to move over to the computer right behind me. That's like it's a gaming computer. I
Ah.
guess I'll put you in on a little secret of mine, is that the Earth shots, like the actual. I know what you're talking about, because those are, like, a bit more complicated. It's a video game called Space Engine, and
Okay.
I just have learned or taught myself. I'm pretty much the only person who does this. I think that, like, films inside of this, because it simulates all of space, right? That's how I get Mars. That's how I get, like, Earth, everything.
Yeah.
And all I have to do is learn how to pretty much fly a spaceship in the computer. To, like, I'm pointing a camera at a planet, and I'm hitting it to give it a certain amount of spin or whatever, recording that. It's a very crazy process that I wouldn't advise. I'd advise just learning Blender or something instead of what I do. It's like, this is a bit of a patchwork operation that I got going on doing it like this. But yeah, those are
Oh.
something special. Those are, like, just require more work, but they definitely add something, I think, especially with the video you mentioned at the beginning, like the
Mhm.
flooding, to see the sea level change, especially with the video too that I just released. It's like, once you see it like that, like, portrayed, so I don't know, uh, close to what it would be in reality, it
Yeah.
makes it all the more believable and then more interesting. That's the ultimate goal, is to make it interesting, and part of
Mhm.
that is making it realistic. I don't know if you've been paying attention to, like, the discussion around prehistoric planet, but it's the same principle, where if you make something that's just really accurate and, like, satisfyingly accurate, um, people will love it for what it is.
Mhm.
And that's the guiding principle, I guess, behind
Yeah,
the
no,
design.
you do a great job with that, and I even if it is more work, it's probably worth it. I mean,
Well, it's also about just figuring out, because sometimes figuring out stuff like that makes it easier. The day I realized that I should just have like a set cut and dry style, right? I have one text,
yep,
I use that text. I have one
mhm,
sound effect for one action that my audience is trained to. Once you build an iconography, or I think that's what the right word, of your channel, of
yeah,
colors, symbols, sounds, everything,
fonts.
arrangement, composition, all of it. uh, you really build a bridge to like communicating more directly with your audience,
The
because
learning curve goes all of a sudden isn't so steep. Yeah, you hit flat lines. And my secret that I've actually shared, I think once or twice before on a live stream, is PowerPoint is the main program I use, and it was what I used for many years as a teacher. And I just converted what I learned with that onto the videos, and I literally screencast a lot of animations from that I build on, and it honestly it
it's the
does the
foundation.
job.
Well,
You
that's the
know,
interesting thing too, is like the more, that I wouldn't call that a traditional way of doing things, but the more unique the way that you do it, the more character like the final product has. Like the less replicatable your videos are, the more you do it like screencast a PowerPoint presentation like that builds a part of the character into the video that is hard to like replicate if you don't know what's happening. I mean, I guess you just gave it away, but
oh
for
yeah.
anyone before that, yeah.
Well, it's funny because, like, whenever I get people that talk trash, in the comments, it actually happens, believe it or not. No, it happens all the time. But no, like, they say, "Hey, I could make a better video than this," especially on my other channel, The Beat Goes On, where it's music
Like,
history.
I
Like,
doubt it.
well, the thing is, I'm just like, well, "Go for it, bud,"
Yeah, be
and they
my
never do.
guest.
They never
Make
do. And I think what it
10,000
comes down to is like there's a certain part of doing this that you kind of it's a borderline mental illness. It really is. I
for
mean,
sure. There's definite social
yeah,
things that you get.
because like I'm anxious if I don't finish a video. I'm anxious if I don't work so long doing like accomplishing something. I can't just sit around and like I have all these ideas in my head, and I feel like if I don't get them all out before I die, I mean nothing's gonna happen. But
I guess we're back to legacy. Yeah, it's just like
I just
I
feel like
do, but that's funny because I do consider my videos to be like not time capsules, but like points in time. Like they're each points on a timeline of like my career or whatever, like whatever this is.
I thought you were gonna say of the destruction of the planet.
Oh no, yeah, I guess that too. That's the very last one. But in between that, I think that is an interesting way to think about it. Is
Oh,
just like
yeah, that's a good way to think. Yeah.
there's a weird song that I listen to that I don't listen to when I'm around other people, but I listen to it when I'm alone. It's called like 298 bricks or something, and it's about a monk. It's a monk's TED talk about like stacking bricks and how like two can be like a jar or whatever, and for some people that'll ruin the whole wall. It's just like some people only see that, and it's about optimism, pessimism. But I think of my videos in the same way of just like one brick after the other in a
Mm.
sequence, and if one is askew or whatever, they're all askew. At the end of the day, like there is no perfect video or anything.
Yep.
They all
Yeah,
have
and you just
growth.
gotta stop. You don't need like, I still
Yeah,
have
and people will point it out in the comments for eternity. Like you'll get comments
yeah.
10 years from now on the same issue that everyone pointed out, like when the video was first published, like 5 seconds after the video was published, the
Yeah.
time one.
Just like no human will ever be perfect, no video will ever be perfect, and,
Man.
uh, yeah, that song, by the way, that you mentioned, maybe that's your karaoke song, eh? No, it's good.
Well, it's like if you listen to it, it's like it's a TED talk that somebody like I don't
Turned
want to
into a
call it.
song?
Yeah, but like it's one of those like I don't know trip lo-fi like
Okay.
remixes or whatever.
Yeah,
So it's not
yeah,
really singing.
yeah.
I'm sticking with Cats in the Cradle. I think I have the tenor for that or whatever.
Alright. I think it's your turn.
Uh,
Yeah, we both
yeah, all
asked
right.
you too. So you
All right. So this is going on. This is adding on you running for president and becoming our overlord one day. Uh, this led me to wonder, what elections do you vote in, like total? Because there's presidential, right? There's midterm. There's local elections, like
Hmm.
sheriff and whatnot, whatnot. School board.
Yeah.
How deep do you vote? Like, I don't care who you vote for, but I'm curious. How deep into voting that you get, because obviously, because of what you talk about on your channel, I'd imagine that you'd have something
Yeah.
interesting to say about this at the very least.
I vote for every election.
Yeah.
Everyone. Like even if it's like the last time was a couple months ago, we voted for it was actually it was just a primary, but for school board.
Oh yeah, school
In
board. Oh yeah, I
town.
said that. I was.
Yeah, yeah. If there's an election, I will vote for it. And I usually vote by mail or vote early. I don't like doing it the day of. It kind of stresses me out. But yeah, I'm somebody who I'm really angry almost when I find out my really intelligent friends are not voting. And I get why some of them like, oh, it's a protest. Also, like you're also having your voice heard by not voting. But I say you're
I
not.
don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like you're just not having your
Sounds
voice
like
heard,
that's
buddy.
not true.
Yeah, like it's funny because we've had for many years now at the federal level. Is usually what I have problems with. Usually, locally, politicians are decent, and even at the
I'm
federal
just like
level, they're
less
good.
capable of
They're
being.
good people at the federal level, but the system is so messed up that approval rating so low. Like everybody knows that Congress's approval rating is like lower than like you know
Spoiled milk.
picking up poop, yeah, in the yard, whatever. And I think it's rooted in the fact that for so many years we've had apathy from citizens, and so we've had lesser of the two evils often with the way our system's set up, and so people are just like, these are my two choices, like, and they haven't been able to vote for someone for so long. In fact, it's always just I'm scared of the other person, and because of that, we have politicians that are uninspiring and just really, and they've gotten away. The reason why these uninspiring politicians have been there to begin with is because of people just not voting. Like I always bring up 2020 was promising because turnout went way up,
I thought it
but
was way more, to be honest, but
2016 you
it
had,
was more.
yeah, like of all registered voters in 2016, the presidential election, um, who won? Who beat both Trump and Clinton in 2016 was nobody. Like that's how many, like more people stayed home and didn't vote than voted in 2016, and so that's something that more people should realize. And
Yeah, and it is something that also requires like bigger changes. National holiday for voting day, whatever. That would very much help.
yeah,
Even though people have said like voting weeks or whatever, which sound fun, I personally like voting in person. I think it's always interesting because I don't know, you just get to see who lives around you, who you might not know, and it's just like, I don't know, it's informative of like your community in a funny way.
yeah.
But like there's all sorts of people who have to vote or who do vote, and it provides an eye into the the world.
Well, I guess I'll have to ask my next question then that's related to
Oh,
this.
sure, go ahead.
Well, you messaged me on Twitter that you caught some of my the live stream where I took all those political tests, and then you were kind of taking them along as well on your own end,
Yeah.
and you noticed that there was obviously a lot of nuance.
There was
There were some things that you
it was
voted
like
differently.
more than nuance. There was just like a lack of understanding, I feel like, in a lot of them.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, because especially like some of the philosophical stuff, it's like people don't even know.
Yeah, and like I don't know,
Philosophy.
all of that, and how they give answers. You were very right when you were thankful for there being I don't know, or in between, like no response. Like that was, I found, going into it, like the deeper and deeper I got, to be the most useful response. It's just like
Yeah.
that's not, that's one way or the other. Like it's not really. And
Ultimately, I think that's the best response for almost everything.
yeah, it's like, I don't know, like what do I know?
That's how a scientist thinks.
That's kind of how I take my politics. Is like I went to school for environmental science. I learned about that. That's where my knowledge is, right? That's where I have knowledge. Let that guide like my understanding of, the environmentalist movement, that whatever, that aspect of politics. And then use that as like a litmus test, like
Yeah.
because I understand this issue. I don't understand, the nicer things of like I don't know, everything that are posited in those sorts of quizzes. But
Well, my question was like there were some things that you disagreed with me on. So, do you remember anything that? Because I always want to know, like, what did you?
well, it's funny because I disagreed with you on like a fair number of things. Not in any like weird way, but
Yeah.
just because of the question usually. Like I'm trying to think. One of the examples or one of the questions that was on almost every single one of them was, I'm trying to think of how it was phrased. It was like, it's more important to control inflation than it is to control unemployment. Something like to that effect, right? It said like it's more important to control inflation or more important to control unemployment than inflation.
Classic
One or the other.
economics debate. Yeah.
You kept saying one or the other. I don't even know which one you were saying, to be honest.
I think it's more important to. I lean more towards fighting inflation because it's kind of a hidden tax that hurts poor people more.
Yeah, well, that on a surface level, it makes sense to go one way or the other. Either way, like I feel like there's arguments for both, but ultimately, my understanding of it is that there's a relationship between the two. Like that, that's the nuance of the question is that, if you make more people have jobs, things go, prices rise. If there's a very direct relationship between them, and at the end of the day, it's not about this one is more important than the other one. It's about recognizing that there's a balance there, or there's a relationship there, and you have to manage the balance. Like that's the important part, is not letting unemployment get too high, and not letting inflation.
So you're even more nuanced than me.
Well, but all of those questions have like that same like not either one of these are neither of these are the right answer. It's like it's both and neither at the same time. And
one of the fallacies I'm very impatient about is the either or fallacy.
yeah, like, that's what a lot of these were.
A lot of pundits talk that way. Like now obviously we're talking the day after a major elementary school shooting.
Yeah.
Mass shootings are pretty common in the United States these days, but elementary school shootings are, fortunately, this is something that doesn't happen too often. And it's something that obviously everyone's really emotional about. I have two daughters in elementary school, and I was actually at their school all day yesterday when this happened. But I try to be pragmatic about it. But the bottom line is, when you hear the rhetoric, it's hard not to be either or. Like, just get rid of guns, all background check.
Well, I feel like certain, not to get like too conspiratorial, but I feel like certain people benefit from making the arguments seem simpler than they are.
Oh, that's not conspiratorial at all. It's a fact.
Oh, it's not.
This
I'm not the only one who thinks
established.
this. Thank you.
Academics have studied this for years, going back to Chomsky in the 80s. Like, like they profit from hate and division. They want high arousal emotions. And that's part of the reason why we titled our videos the way we do, because we know that it will trigger a response. We want to trigger people.
Hey, even if it's something caps for a reason. I want to.
Yeah, all caps. Mrs. B's been trying me to do all caps.
I'm not making any mistakes when I do that. All right. I'm trying to catch your eye.
Well, so somebody give a shout out to your Mars video, or one of your Mars videos. That might seem benign, right? But there's ways to make that, a divisive thing. Because I've seen people argue about colonization of Mars, and there's the side that's like, tends to be like, we need to focus on fixing up this planet before we even think about going to Mars. And there's the other side saying, no, look, our planet is screwed. We've got to start.
Yeah.
So like,
well, Kurt's Gazette, I think, made a video recently about that, or somebody did, about how learning to live on Mars will like give us, or not give us obviously, but like helps us develop technologies of like living, zero waste in an environment, because you can't like live the same on Earth, which could be very useful to living on, Earth. And,
kind of like when we went to the moon, it helped benefit.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's always, I'm very fascinated in the move to Mars. I think that's so interesting. I try not to be one of those like Elon Musk, like simp people, but the people who just, bow down. I do think what he's doing is interesting. I detach that from who he is as a person, obviously. Like that's
Yeah, you have to.
try to maintain different, very, very, very conflicting feelings being, environmentalist, thinking that like, or, also a futurist,
Yeah, yeah, because
it's like, oh, that would be cool if we got to Mars, being
I'm a big
something
fan of
to it.
Tesla, and people are like, oh, like Elon Musk. I'm just like, well,
It's
you
like,
can separate the two. Like Elon
yeah,
Musk is not in the factories creating the cars, and he doesn't even own the patents for the most part. Like he's literally just the dude with the money.
yeah.
You got to give the engineers credit. The people that are actually designing and building these things, they are the geniuses, and
Yeah,
that's what
I mean,
I truly.
to a real degree, they are like impressive machines, and
And we don't even know their names, do we?
I don't know any
We
one
don't know the
person. I couldn't
names
name
of.
you the second up at Tesla, or even anyone
Yeah,
besides Elon Musk. I don't know.
that
There's
says a
probably
lot about
like,
his ego. And honestly, I think if you really want to, if somebody is not a fan of Elon Musk, the thing you can really do to stick it to him is to just shift that hero worship to the next in command and the head engineers who have brought this. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think it's your turn for a question.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
all right,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, there's a Mrs. Beat. Yeah. Sorry, Zeke. Yeah, there she is.
All right. This one's a little different. I feel like I've learned a bit enough about your political leanings, about who we are as policymakers. Future mayor of Lawrence, Kansas, if I'm not mistaken. uh, so this one is a bit lighter. It just is. What do you tell people you do for a living? Like
Oh,
you might say teacher, but besides that, do you like what do you tell people when you like meet a new person? Like you
I
have a
mean,
job, you earn
it,
money. What do you do?
yeah, no, it is easier just to say. I do sometimes if they're older, especially. I just tell them I'm a
If
teacher.
they're older.
Yeah, and even like my parents, they still I think have a hard time wrapping their head around what I do now. And for up until last year, I was still in the classroom, and so uh, mostly because I was worried about losing health insurance, and God bless America. But yeah, like now that I mean, I'm doing this full time. It's quite a bit more money than teaching, and it's kind of sad. It's really sad, and I've run into former students that I taught. Like I went back and I went to Washington D.C. with former students as a chaperone a couple months ago, and that was like the first thing they asked me, like, "Why'd you leave teaching?" And I tried to explain to them like teachers get screwed over in this country, and
Oh, for sure.
you don't do it obviously for the money.
Well, I think
But
I told you that my girlfriend is a teacher.
oh,
Uh,
that's right. You
yeah,
did tell
she's
me
a
that a long time
seventh
ago.
grade
What
math
did she
teacher.
teach?
Seventh grade math.
Okay, I started out 7th grade,
Yeah,
social studies.
so I have a very interior look at the world of being a teacher.
How
An
long
outside look, a comfortable outside look, but
well,
a
she's
good
almost done
inside
with
look
the year.
nonetheless.
How many years has she
Her
taught?
first year.
This is the 1st year.
Do
Well, tell
you have
her,
any words of wisdom if she's watching? She might watch this later.
yeah, of course. My 1st year, I just wanna, apologize on the record to all my students I had. 'Cause I didn't do a very good job, and it's not like it's insane to think that you could do a good job your first year. It's just teachers are required to do literally hundreds of tasks, like literally hundreds of different jobs they have to
Absolutely.
do. Like if you are an employer out there and you're thinking like if there's somebody who applies and maybe they don't have the experience, maybe they don't have the degree, but they used to be a teacher, hire that person because that person can handle anything. That person can
You can
handle
take
like a fire
advantage of
alarm
this
going
great
off, what, a
person.
kid puking at the same time in the hallway, like, and then two kids getting in a fight next to him. Like, so it's not meant to be something that normal humans can handle. And I felt like I didn't have a grasp on it until I was at least in my 4th or 5th year teaching.
Yeah.
And I only taught for 12 years. That's how long I made it. Anytime I come across a teacher, I tell them, thank you for your service because it's not, you are doing a service. Yeah, we should be. You talk about hero worship. We should be like, and I don't say that because I was a teacher. Not like I don't think I was anything impressive at all. I felt like I was just constantly trying to survive, and so, but
Seeing what my girlfriend goes through, It's a crazy job. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It's so much work all the time, so many different types of work, so many, such social, such she says it all the time, like there's politics to it, not like politics as in like, the politics that we all assume, but like, interacting with people, interacting with groups of people and like, maneuvering in those sorts of situations. There's so much to it. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, on top of that, on top of all of this, you have to like spend like 8 hours a day with kids, like or maybe 6 hours, however long, but that's like a draining job in and of itself. And for you to do everything on top of it is just nuts. And I think they do deserve a lot of respect. And especially now, I feel like teachers are raising kids more than they used to, Like it
Yeah.
really is like they're, I don't know, they're becoming a part of the fabric of America, or they're not becoming, they've always been, but it's definitely, yeah, I definitely think they're on par with like, policemen, firemen, at least in my opinion, in terms of like, service to the country or, military men.
Um, I wanted to show you something that remind this video here I released a couple or I guess it was last year when I was still teaching about why we work 40 hours a week, and I was explaining in the video that how many hours I actually spend like doing stuff outside of like after the kids
Yeah.
go home. And a lot of people don't realize this. I even got comments on this video saying, "Oh, it's an easy job. They get to go home at 3 o'clock. They get 3 months off in the summer." I get so angry when I hear that. Like that is an astoundingly ignorant statement. Like,
Yeah,
so
no, profoundly.
advice for your girlfriend. Hey, uh, make it a goal to stop bringing stuff home to grade, because that's what I did those first few years. Like my weekends were spent grading, and you can't, if you want your sanity, if you want to last a long time in this profession, you need to have them grade each other. You need to get the grade done in class as you go. Formative assessments, as we call it, because it's just insane. You will not make it. That's my advice to her.
All right,
Sorry.
very good advice.
Get passionate here.
All right. So yeah, I guess you tell people you're a teacher and then you just break it down. See, because I guess the end of my question is I usually tell people step one, I say I'm self-employed.
That's good.
And
Yeah.
that's, if that's all they need, then don't say anymore. Then I don't have to explain. I don't have to, go into
Yeah.
detail. Just I'm self-employed. That's where don't worry about it, And then if they're like, but what do you do? I'm like, I make video content, I usually say, because that sounds like businessy almost. Or like you might say like videographer.
Or producer.
Producer, yeah, that's a good one too. Like one of these terms that are like hinting towards the fact, but not like quite there. And then, if they're real young and hip, maybe I'll be like, yeah, I'm a YouTuber. Like
If Canubis in the chat, shout out to Canubis. If you're traveling abroad, like, what do you do for a living?
Nothing. I just sit in front of my computer. It's called a YouTuber. Have you heard of it?
Actually, my next question is also related to
Shoot.
I put down, what's the most difficult thing about doing YouTube full time?
Doing it full time,
like as a career.
I guess there's a lot of things. I mean, I don't want to say that it's a hard job. It's an amazing job to have. I'm eternally grateful for the job that I have. It's hard, but it's also not, it's very comfortable. But there are parts of it, like every job, there is work, there are things. And I think, at the end of the day, the long term is like keeping sane, like when a lot of your time revolves around being in one place working alone. And then, and on top of that, my girlfriend goes to work every day, like 8 hours a day, however long teachers spend in schools. Just being alone and working and, maintaining self-discipline while like, you might have different experience because you have family and friends in Kansas, but where I live, all my friends moved away. So I'm like almost completely isolated. So like keeping sanity, I guess, and keeping motivated. It's hard, it's hard when I feel like I've reached the point. Here, let me go the other way. The million there. I got this guy recently. And once you reach that point, I realized that like I'm never meeting the 10 million point or 10 million subscribers one. So I feel like I've plateaued, and
No,
there's
go.
not
You
like
can make
I don't
10
know. I don't
million.
know. Like there's definitely room to grow, but like I don't know. This feels like the biggest achievement. I don't know. But anyway, it's like once you reach that point where I'm no longer feel like I'm growing rapidly. I just feel like I'm, another brick in the wall. I don't know, like your routine changes, your like attitude towards it all changes. Where in the beginning when I first started, I had so much energy, and you just make a video in 4 days. You make a video in 3 days, and it's 4 minutes long, and it it has like three cuts in it, and it like has the jankiest animation you've ever seen. But like you just bust it out real fast.
Yeah.
But then then you learn how you want your videos, how you can get your videos to be like that, and you hit a point where it's like, all right, it's a lot of work, so I have to pace myself, take it slow, but also the temptation of just like taking it really slow.
Hmm.
It I guess, yeah, it's a big factor of self-discipline at the end of the day. I tell my girlfriend, I don't mean to be talking about her. She's gonna be so embarrassed when she watches this and sees how much I talk about her. But um, like anyone, my age, everyone my age is pretty much considered making YouTube at some point, not just her, like everyone, I'd say at some point, just because it seems like, or, anyone I know, but I guess that's
I
kind of
gotta
old.
ask you, how old are you?
I'm 25.
Wow, yeah. See, I'm 40,
I'm a
so
whippersnapper. I'm a young
YouTube
one.
didn't exist when I graduated college. Um,
Yeah, I had 100,000 subscribers before I got out of college.
did you even look for other jobs, or did you like when you graduated, like, oh yeah,
I
I'm
like
going for it?
I had jobs before. Like I just worked like regular jobs, like jobs that normal people get. Oh, my girlfriend's coming in right now, actually.
Sorry, we talked about you.
Yeah. But then, yeah, straight from college, I pretty much had enough to just keep coasting. I didn't have to look for work or anything. I was very blessed in that way. Still live in
Yeah,
my college town. I didn't move too far away from that. But uh, yeah. What was
I'm
the
in the college
question?
town. I'm in the college town I went to school the first time too.
They're pretty fun. They change. There's all the students here just went home like the other day, like yesterday, 2 days ago, and it's funny
Great.
to see that because the city comes in cycles at that point. Now that I've been here for few years after college, like I just noticed because I live in like an apartment, and there's
Yeah.
just a day when everyone's gone, and then it's only old people you see on the streets, old people and like really young people. You don't see anyone your own age anymore for a while.
There's no better place on earth than a college town in the summer.
It is
You
really
get
nice.
all the perks of a college town, but
Yeah.
the frat are gone. uh, so my name is Mr. Beat because that was what
That's your
my
name.
that's my
I
name.
was, I wanted to tell you, I was gonna do a bit before at the beginning of this where I asked for 11 questions, just so that my first question can be, "Can I have $1 million, Mr. Beast?" But then I was like, I don't know how he'll like that.
No, I'm used to it at this point. I think it's your turn now for
Oh yeah, here, let me pull it up. All right, this one, I feel like you asked somebody else a similar question. It might have been Atunche, I don't know, but you
okay.
asked them. I'm always interested to hear about this, but what's the most recent channel you've subscribed to, or more broadly, like what new types of videos have you gotten into recently? Like, what's a new development in your video diet?
Yeah, great question. Let me check here. I uh I this is really weird lately, but I've been just really I get into drive laps videos and walk laps, or like it's a genre where people just they have a GoPro and they just film themselves walking in a new place or driving in a new place. Yeah. Like
Oh,
there's this channel, his name is Chris Harden, and he's really good because he shows you like all the information about where he's at. He gives history about, and I think he's from the Midwest because that's where most of the places where he goes. Like he's in the process of releasing all these videos about Detroit. But I mean, I've been subscribed to him for a few months now. So like, I
oh,
don't know as
that's a
far as
good example. Sometimes it takes me a while to like have somebody cemented it in my brain as the person that I watch.
Yeah. Just oh man, I'm trying to think of the one I just subscribed to. After 2020, like before 2020, I was like watching way too many political videos, and so I'm glad I got out of that habit for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, things
Yeah.
were different back then. These are
It's
simpler times, I'd like to think. Maybe not, though. I don't know. Fight about it in the comments.
shout out to the channel Telltale because I found out that he was subscribed to me, and I probably should do a 10 questions with him. But I just subscribed to him the other day, so.
Telltale, can you bring it up? Bring them up on the
Oh,
screen.
sure. And while I'm doing that, hey, what about you as far as?
It's funny because that's a pretty similar thing to what I think I've been watching. I'll be honest, I had to get rid of one question. I didn't like it a lot, so I came up with this one later today, opposed to like 2 months ago, and it was this one. I've gotten recently into this channel. Maybe you can look it up afterwards. Oh, I'm looking at this.
Oh, I can't bring it up now?
Oh, you can bring it up now if you want.
Oh, okay.
I think it's called Caveman Hikes.
Like the name.
Hikes, like
hikes. Oh, there it is.
It's these guys. It's just these guys who
they explore caves.
they explore caves, and that's all it needs to be. But it's insane. And I think I got this recommended to me because I've been watching Ghost Town Living. Like they're a newer channel, I guess, within like the last year or two.
They live in a ghost town. That makes there's a few of these actually.
Yeah. And a big fan of them. And I think this guy explores mines or whatever. And I think that led me to caveman hikes or whatever. And those guys, I don't know, they just explore caves, and I found it so interesting. Just seeing back to geology, right? I guess I said earlier that I've been getting more interested in geology. And I guess I don't think it's coincidence that aligns with when I've started watching a channel of people caving.
Well, it's also funny we keep bringing up geology is not getting enough love because that Big Bang Theory that's like one of the running jokes is they make fun of geologists.
Trust me, I'm guilty of it myself. When I was in college, the invite kids were separate from the geology kids.
Oh.
But what was my question again? Did I get an answer? Oh,
yeah. Latest channels we've been checking out.
All right.
Yeah, that's. I'm trying to see if actually I do have a related.
Well, it's funny. I find it the more I do this, the less I'm able to watch channels similar to my own. And I think you confirmed my suspicion a little.
Yeah. No. Oh, that's one thing I wanted to bring up is I don't watch much history too.
Yeah, I don't want to say it, but it's like I can't do it like sometimes.
Well, yeah, because like when that's all you do, you want a break.
Yeah.
Escapism. Yeah.
And like especially for me, because I do a lot of like animation or whatever, and I can't help but like pick it apart. Like pieces like how'd they get that? How'd they get that it to look like that? And by the end of it, I've got like a microscope, and I'm just like, look at those pixels. Like, well, is that a lens curve? Like,
oh, I don't do that. I feel
it's just like well, what it is it really like pours into an anxiety too of mine, where like I'll start by like examining a video that's like very similar to mine. And then by the end, I'll be like, I got to get to work. I got to like, I can't be watching videos. Like I got to get back to, got to get back to my own video. Cause like,
that's true.
This video in like 6 days, like, oh shoot,
Been there. Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. Related to that. Segues are terrific for this episode. How many times have you had to completely redo something due to mic problems, camera problems, if there's a booger on your cheek, whatever?
I guess there's two questions really here. How many times should I have completely redone something? And it's the times that I actually did redo something.
You weren't on camera than the earliest videos, were you?
No, that's a
new dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first try. The first time I ever got behind, or actually that's not true. So I tried to make a Q&A when I made or when I reached 100,000 subscribers. I tried to record myself at that point, and I just couldn't do it. I was like terrified. You know, my palms were sweaty, and I didn't have, I don't know, the knowledge or the awareness of how to do it properly, so I stopped. Uh,
Uh,
and I don't know. The longer I did this, and the more I realized and got comfortable with like what I do and like who I am. I don't know. It just became easier. It just became like something that I wasn't worried about. And like I was talking about a second ago, I'm being scared about having like of similar channels. I don't know. It adds something like you as a person. Like once you come onto it, you add your own character to it. You know, not that it wasn't there before, but like I don't know. It was fun to inject myself into my videos at a certain point because that's how I can get excited about them is by being a part of them. If that makes sense.
yeah. Well, but I've
Moving
had
scenes
cases
around.
where I've had to literally refilm because I did have like my face was bleeding. And it happens more often than you think.
Well, there was I feel like I don't even wanna say because then people are gonna go back to the video and, like, zoom in and, you
Oh,
know,
because you
we
published it.
noticed when I first recorded alright, so when I first ever recorded in person, I used my phone to read my script. I climbed a tree. This is the first mistake is that I climbed a tree to record for the first time ever. And I used my phone to read my script, but the way that I was positioned, the sun was hitting my phone and just blasting me in the face. So in the
Yeah.
recording, you can just see this light like going over my face, like really distracting, like you know, completely unnatural for me being in a tree. I didn't go back and redo it. I was like, that's fine. That's at the same time I was wearing a jacket with buttons that rattled, and all the audio was with like this scratchy like audio rattling. Didn't redo it. Didn't you know? I have
Yeah.
a I have a philosophy that if I've done it, I should just use it. You know, full steam ahead. You know, don't look back.
You can always apologize later on.
Yeah, you know, whatever. Poor quality in the beginning is to be expected. One video, I made a video about dodos, and I uh, I
Mhm.
wanted to film in a different location in my house. I wanted to film. There's just like a closet that I thought was an interesting setting. You know, I think it's interesting to put videos in different places just to give them different characters or whatever.
Mhm.
I filmed the whole video in there, and the audio was just 1,000 times more echoey than I could ever get away with.
Oh, in a closet?
Yeah, yeah, it's in a closet, and I didn't have the right mic. I didn't have a lavalier mic or whatever.
Oh,
I just had
yeah.
a normal mic. I didn't know any better. You know, that's part of the process, I guess, is learning.
Yeah.
So the whole, 20 minutes of or, it was like 2 hours, 3 hours of recording. Just scrapped it all. Scrapped it all. Ended up making a different video. That was like my most successful video ever at that point, though. So it all felt worth it in the end. Recently, I made a video where I lost my voice like halfway through.
Oh, man.
Still completed it. Still just with a scratchy voice for the rest of it. I didn't find that. I have a very full steam ahead mentality, I guess.
I do
Where
too.
I
Yeah.
don't often break to mistakes or shortcomings unless they're so extreme.
Yeah. You
Like
kinda have to do that. If you wanna be productive, you just kinda have to push through and
yeah, that's the only way to really get things done is just to have an objective in mind and like work towards it.
I actually lost my voice, before a show. Well, my band, Electric Needle Room, we had a show, and we just played anyway, and I started singing. It was so bad, we just did instrumentals the rest of the show. And it was at a coffee shop, so they were more forgiving, but I was like, "I should have just canceled," but no, I was pushed through.
Yeah, just do it. Just make it work, Then they'll never know.
Oh, poor Mr. Potato. Oh, he wasted his life on this. Oh, he spelled wasted at WAIST. Oh, he hates this poor Mr. I loved it. Like it's I don't I call people out all the time. I don't even care. I do it on Twitter too. Like, hey, Mr. Potato, you don't have to be here. Bye-bye.
I forgot there was a chat. I gotta open up the chat on YouTube. I completely forgot about that. Can you still see me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Just gonna bring up this. Oh, here it is. Live now. How many viewers we got?
A million. No, we got
I'm
212.
just
Looks
gonna,
like.
yeah.
All right. Thanks for being here, everyone. I think it's your. In case you just now joining us, we are about halfway through. Uh, it's your turn to ask me a question.
Halfway through, that's right. Question 5.
Yeah.
All right, so this one's a bit of a fun one. This one, I was kind of inspired by watching the first video of this, or the first iteration of this when you talked with JJ McCullough.
Oh
And,
yeah.
I was very inspired by, because he's Canadian. You're American. I'm American. And my question is, I guess I'll just get to it. The point. What's your vision? This is what I've written. What's your vision for North America? Do you think its arrangement right now, Canada, U.S., Mexico, Central America, is like how this landmass will be divided forever, or like how it is meant to be divided? What is your entire, like, I don't know, take on the North American, like, political, however you want to call it, like, organization?
Yeah, I love that question. I think maybe even in our lifetime, we're going to see, like within the next 100 years for sure, I think we're going to see Canada, United States, and Mexico seriously consider becoming one country.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
That's
And I know it's crazy and it's insane when you think about, oh, what about the constitutions and all this jazz? But I think at the very least, it'll be a similar thing to the EU where it's just like, there's no, it is for a long time. We didn't have to even show a passport to get into Canada. And now we do ever since 9/11, all this stuff. But I do think we're going to revert back to like, more open borders between. Now, obviously, Mexico would be more controversial than open borders with Canada, but I think
Yeah.
culturally we have much more in common than we realize. Even Mexico, like I think if a typical American went down to Mexico who has never been there before, other than the obvious like language difference, there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, well, I think Mexico is very much like absorbed a lot of American culture, and I think America has definitely absorbed a
Vice
lot of
versa.
Mexican culture.
Oh yeah, like Texas. I think especially if you're a Texan, I think you'd feel very comfortable. And I mean, it. Mexico also has that reputation now of being, I guess, unsafe because of gang violence and everything. But I think overall, it's actually fairly safe. You just hear about the horror stories and kind of like people they think about mass shootings with the United States. Is it all like that all the time? No, but
No, yeah.
so yeah,
Well,
no,
I think that, like, that does speak to, like, the point of, like, uniting, right? Like, Mexico has all those dangers now because it, like, operates on its own and, like, has to deal with the implications of, like, America's decisions, right? Like, the cartels only have power because, like, America made the drugs illegal, so they made, like, a market for them to, make money from, and then, money equals power in a lot of these cases. But, if you got to a point where, certain drugs were legalized or whatever, and some sort of union, economic union, trade union, whatever, I could very easily see those issues going away. I'm a similar opinion as you, as I think it's all or nothing really in North America, at least from my perspective. I don't know. I think JJ made a video about this or something, a comment at least, where he said that he only thought about Canada and America joining and not Mexico or something. Maybe he's
that's
watching.
more likely. Yeah.
It does feel more likely, but I don't know. It's a weird line to draw because it is like language, but then I feel like, I don't know, once you have Quebec in there, I don't know. It's definitely, so I guess what I'm getting at is, do you see change happening? Do you see any sort of like rearrangement of like any political entities, or I don't know, balances of power, relationships?
My prediction for not just North America, but for the entire world, especially a place maybe like, especially let's just say the entire continent of Africa, is nationalism will begin to wane. And so, because nationalism really it really accelerated in the 1800s. It wasn't that long ago, and I think we're still kind of at that peak of nationalism where I'm already seeing signs that it's starting to go down. Where people are just like, why do I have all this pride in dead people's baggage, as another comedian once said. So, I think we're so like we have such a narrow perspective because we just think about how things are right now, like things. But I think the natural progression, or some people would say regression, would be that we would just like, yeah, there would be more countries that realize that they'd be better off if they joined forces. I mean, like South Africa, you have different groups that split. They started their own countries. Some of them are landlocked inside of South
Yeah.
Africa. It's insane, and I think that it's in 100 years they're going to be like, why are we doing this? Like, like especially when you consider like the rest of the country is incredibly diverse, like so many different ethnic groups in South Africa. They're going to
Yeah,
realize,
even if the people of the Lesotho or whatever are incredibly different, they still fit into like a patchwork of like differences. I don't know, right? Is that what you're getting at?
yeah. I guess there could be exceptions, but generally though, yeah, the differences are not that significant in my opinion long term. So
Yeah, I think
especially when you
that's
think about like migration and immigration is only going to go up, and that's freaking some people out.
I'm really in favor of the U.S. like taking on as many immigrants as possible. I'm in
Well,
that
it's better
boat.
for our economy. That selfishly, I think it's like if you look at immigrants historically in our country, that we've really benefited from them, like when more
Well,
than
I
we
mean,
like to
like
admit.
obviously, like
Yeah, like
like I'm from Ireland, like
oh, I didn't
I
know that.
benefited from being here. I think.
Wait, so you were born there, or your
No,
parents?
like just ancestrally,
Oh, ancestrally. Okay.
the same way anyone from America. No, like I'm one of those families. I have one of those families that are like, yeah, we have, family traces back all the way to the Mayflower, but it's like we've just been here for a very long time.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I hope that like I don't know, we see a dying of nationalism. I really do like when I aspire or like think about the future. I think it would be really cool to have like much bigger unifications. Like the Arab world, I think would be cool to just be like unified. I don't know, like people are gonna yell at me in the comments for saying stuff like this, but I really think that unification is definitely a better answer. But maybe I don't know.
eventually, though.
It's unification also goes by the name of like invasion and conquest. So it's
Yeah, it's
again, I
something
guess
that
it's a balance.
yeah, it has to be a slow process, and I think most of the world isn't ready for it right now, and that's
Yeah.
why you
Well,
have
it feels like we've hit this place, and I guess the recent events in Ukraine have kind of flipped this up, but it feels like things have just gotten in like so ordered or structured that they can never change. But I feel like in right now we're seeing that changing again. Whatever happens in Ukraine, whatever the outcome is, things will have changed, probably, or maybe not. I don't know, but like we're beginning to see things that I don't know haven't have happened really, geopolitically or whatever for the past 20 years.
well, that goes counter to my thesis. Ukraine,
Yeah,
we've seen more nationalism, so but I'm just talking big picture,
yeah.
broader.
That's a good. I just figured you must know a lot about North America. You must have thought about it before. Is really my my thought behind that question.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of similarities. There's so many.
It's funny,
Yeah.
like the way I see the U.S. being from New York is that like you go out and there's a bunch of people who speak Spanish to the south anyway. Like you go to Texas, there's people who speak Spanish. Like I grew up in a very Spanish speaking spot of like New York, but California, tons. So it doesn't really change the identity of the country at all to like, I don't know, agree to some degree that like Mexicans and Americans share like the same place and are of some like the same people, sort of. I don't know.
Yeah, the bottom line is people fear change, and
Yeah,
so
that's true.
when we talk about change, we just need to remember it's gradual, and that we also need to remember that we keep marrying each other, we keep interbreeding, and so like these distinctions, like even ethnic groups, there'll
Well,
be
it's
new
very
ethnic
exciting
groups.
to see those break down too, for sure.
Yeah, like people forget that ethnic groups are not like it's a you can they're not that they haven't been around that long.
Well,
Like,
I get comments on my videos asking why I have like blonde hair, like dark eyebrows, and like a ginger beard. And it's like I might be white,
mm,
but I'm very mixed white, you know, like
yeah,
got
yeah.
3
Have you
different
ever
hair
done one of
colors
those?
on my head. Huh?
Have you ever done one of those DNA tests?
I have actually.
Okay, yeah.
It's like, you know, Irish, English, German, whatever mix. It's
Mm.
it's whatever. It's German and Celtic really, or Germanic and Celtic is really the mix that you're seeing here. It's like
Yeah, that's similar to me
Germanic,
actually.
you know, Celtic.
Yeah, Northern Europe. That's
It's like all, you know, all sorts of mixing is happening, and I think that's really interesting too, especially in countries like the US and Canada, where
mhm.
you see like just entirely new groups of people arise.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually making a video about great replacement theory. I was working on it before the Buffalo shooting, and I was like, man, I wish I would have released this a long time ago. But anyway, I think is it
Yeah, I
my
think
turn?
the ball's in your court.
Okay, so this is kind of related. So, where do you see the fight for humans to adapt to climate change actually going? Like, how optimistic do you are you that we can fight it? Because I'm becoming less and less optimistic day by day. I'm actually to a point now where I'm like thinking about telling my kids like, don't ever move to New Orleans, don't ever move to Southern Florida. I'm dead serious, like,
I
because
mean,
like,
that is good advice,
yeah, like, I
regardless of your
mean,
stance.
stay in the Midwest, because it's too late. We've already screwed up enough. Like, are you more optimistic than that?
It's, you know, it is very tough. It's very tough. I have learned enough to know that I don't really can't say on my own. It's such a wide-reaching issue that affects so many different aspects that like it really is impossible to say. I try to be optimistic, obviously, that I try to have hope, you know, that
I can tell from your videos the way you talk.
technology. Yeah, there's still technology, there's still time, or you know, some people would argue there's not still time. But at the same time, you know, the more you learn, the worse things start looking. And in every aspect, you know, whether it's damage to ecosystems, forests don't just grow back overnight, or you know, the amount of carbon we put into the atmosphere. Like even if we started, you know, this wonder technology that doesn't exist, but would, you know, converts all the carbon in the 5 foot radius to solid carbon or whatever. It'd still take
It's
like
cheap.
years and years to take all that back, and so much electricity. And it, for every, you know, there's always a new story that's like there's a new solution. Like, oh, this, you know, the compostable this, or you know, new reactor that or something. And then there's always like the news articles of like the raw reality of the situation where it's just like, no, there's too many fishermen in the sea, there's glaciers are melting, you know, continuing to melt. But I try not to be a doomer about it too. Like, I think, oh, sorry if there's a siren.
Oh, that's coming from your end. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's all
um,
right.
I think Kurtzgesagt, if I'm saying it right, made a good video about that recently.
Yeah,
Or maybe, I
they
don't know, maybe
did.
it was like the Green Brothers. Some, maybe both of
Now,
them. But
here's somebody give a little shout
yeah,
out there.
it's like it's worth keeping up hope, I'd say. Our chances, our ability with what we know, we can still do it. We can still like salvage the situation, I'd say. But and it just doesn't help to say all's lost, game over. So
Yeah,
that's how I try to view it. I try to view it as something that can be solved, but you know, requires attention to solve.
that's a good way to put it. I'm still dealing with relatives, like, my parents, even, that it's not just apathy. It's like straight up, like, it's amazing how they are angry against climatologists. Like,
Oh, I mean, I get those
I guess we're seeing
conversations.
something similar with, we've seen something similar with, immunologists with the pandemic, like with doctors saying vaccines are good, and then like, why are you getting all political? Like,
Yeah.
it's not, it wasn't politics until you made it political. But yeah, like, and then in general, the trend I'm noticing in the last couple of years, especially, that I'm most disturbed by, that reminds me of the movie Idiocracy, is people losing trust in experts. And that's the end of a society there. If like you stop listening to people, like, you know, if
Well, just like the entire notion of like what's true going out the window is just dangerous in and of itself. Like
well,
that is,
imagine if I needed a haircut and I didn't trust any barbers. Like, I'm
yeah.
gonna
Like
cut my
where
own hair. I know
then
what I'm
if you don't
doing.
trust the experts, where are you going to get your information from? Like
Where are you
non-experts,
gonna learn
like
anything?
then
Yeah.
it's just
Why
less,
trust anyone?
trustworthy.
Yeah, like, it just doesn't make sense to me because we have trust every day. Like you trust when you get in the car and you drive down the road, and that other people aren't going to just drive right into you, or somebody's not going to walk out in front of you. Can't say that about a squirrel, but you know, like we have trust. You know, we you have to function, and experts. We're not trusting experts anymore. People have spent their whole lives. I'm hoping that younger folks are realizing that yeah, it's okay to listen to experts and
Well, I
what
feel like
experts.
this phenomenon also like coincides with the rise of people thinking they're experts, who
Yeah,
aren't.
because they're professional Googlers.
Yeah, like, it's only natural for some people just to fall into the, like, "I've looked up this once, so I can't be wrong, therefore, like, if I hinge everything on this being right," just despite the fact that there's a lot of, other things out there, then
when
the whole view is gonna be wrong.
I understand it because when I was your age, probably I was in my mid 20s. I was kind of more prone to conspiratorial thinking and, um, like not trusting the
It's
man.
definitely fun. When I was, like,
Yeah,
younger, like, just believing or just giving any, like, sort of ear to it, not
yeah.
just, like, immediately saying no.
Like I would just listen to Alex Jones for fun. Like I thought it was harmless, and then I didn't. Then after Sandy Hook, I was like, oh, this is actually doing a lot of harm to society. I better stop. Like because I'm by listening, I'm supporting it. And yeah, it's a that's the thing. I don't know. We'll move on before I say something too weird. Your turn.
Is it mine? All right. Question 6. I feel like, this kind of relates to something we were talking about earlier. Uh, do you have a plan for after YouTube? Uh, Anything after Mr. Beat? After Mr. Beat as a teacher and as a YouTuber? Is there any retirement plans, exit strategy, whatever you want to call it? Like, is there any
What
plan?
the fuck, your plan?
Yeah,
No, yeah,
like
that's a good question though because it's yeah, if I wasn't a YouTuber anymore or making videos anymore, like because it wasn't financially viable, I would go back to teaching, preferably college, but maybe high school as well. Because I could teach junior college if I wanted to.
would you teach college like history or top? Do you think you could weasel your way into like college like video production?
I could probably weasel my way into that, but
Like
the
one on
master
one, right? You could
is
teach
in
kids
history though.
Premiere, like.
Yeah, the degree is in history. It's amazing how that piece of paper trumps everything else. Like, oh, years of
Yeah.
experience doing it. But anyway, I want to make a movie. Actually, it's a comedy. My brother and I wrote it years ago. There's still my music. I have an idea to make a. I've actually started writing the songs, but I just haven't had enough time to do much with it yet. But I want to make an album with songs about every single state in the country. That's one of my big projects I want to complete. Traveling like Mrs. Beat and I just love to travel. So just seeing the world.
Oh, I
It's
came up with an
embarrassing.
idea for you. This is like kind of
Yeah,
random, but
great
that's
idea.
just, I thought about it like a month or 2 ago, but I just forgot it until now. I feel like you could make like a good like modern rendition. I forgot what the song is even called. Like stop the fire.
Oh, the Billy
It's
Joel song.
always
Yeah.
burning. Yeah. Like I feel like you could do a good modern rendition of that. Like update all the references.
Fire's gotten worse since
Yeah.
Billy Joel's released that
Yeah,
song
yeah,
in the
yeah.
80s. Yeah, no, I think
Music
I
and
have some songs kind of like that already. Just nobody knows about them. Yeah, I like it. I can dig it.
All right, that's interesting. I liked it. You know, it's funny because I feel like I can never go back to having like a normal job again after doing this, like going to like an office and just being paid by the hour or even like a
Okay,
salary.
yeah. So what would you do if YouTube wasn't an option then?
Well, if it wasn't an option from the get go, I might have, taken a very different path. My plan before I ever started YouTube, I sort of wanted to join the Peace Corps for 2 years,
Oh
just go
yeah.
someplace crazy. Because I was an Invi student, that was like an idea floating around in everyone's mind. Uh, but then, now that I'm a YouTuber, now whatever that means, now that I have like some form of steady income, never gonna do that. I think that would be weird, a weird move in my career at
Well, you
this
say
point.
steady income though, but that's the thing. I'm always like paranoid every day. Like,
Well, that's why I asked the question. I was like, well, you get lulled into a sense of like, oh, it is a steady income, and it's like, well, I didn't make a video
not.
for 6 months, and it's not so steady as it as it used
Yeah,
to be.
sometimes randomly the algorithms just like
Yeah,
say, nope, I'm not going to share your video anymore.
yeah. But I guess beyond that, I've always wanted to be a writer. I think the reason I make YouTube videos is still because I want to be a writer. So
Hmm.
one day I hope to, if not like pivot to being a writer, like branch out into also being a writer. Because the more I
Nice.
do YouTube, the more it sort of feels unescapable. Like it sort of feels like I have to do this until I die at this point. Like the amount of time and like work, like I think, the amount of ideas I have, like everything I want to talk about, like
Hmm.
I feel like it all has to get done. But if I wasn't making videos, I was always one of the kids that like just wanted to be on his computer working on things, and I would definitely want to write also. So one day
Yeah.
I will get the books published, fiction too, like not nonfiction. I think it would be
Oh.
just exhausting to write an actual book that's based in fact.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually just now starting to write a book about the Supreme Court. And I don't know when it will be done, but it would be nice if I could just like spend 6 months doing nothing but that. I have a harder time probably than you writing though, because I have to be in the right mode and I have to have the right music playing and
Oh, well, I was kind of anticipating you to ask me about music, like what
well, that
I
was my karaoke.
yeah. Well, it's
Uh,
funny because I listened a lot of the music I listen to now is what I listen to when I work, and this is why I think I didn't have a good response for you because I can't listen to lyrics when I work, right? If I'm writing something, trying to think about how it sounds, I can't listen to lyrics. If I'm editing,
yeah.
sound, I can't have it. It interrupts my train of thought too much. So I only listen to like not like instrumental stuff.
What kind of instrumental stuff though?
It's like I don't know. I've gotten recently into lo-fi, but
Yep.
it's such a saturated market that you get like I don't know too much of it. I guess there's a band. They've been my favorite band. Spotify gives you Wrapped every year, and it tells you your favorite band. And
Mhm.
the same one every year for like the past however many years I've had Spotify has been a band called Explosions in the Sky,
Oh,
and it's
that, yeah,
just
great.
yeah, you've heard of them?
Of course.
Yeah, real. All
I'm a
right,
music
wow.
snob.
Dude, that's like half of this playlist. The playlist itself is called Easy Listening,
No,
and that's what they're
it
like.
is great work music. Yeah, I need to try
Absolutely.
listening because I used to play. I when I worked in college radio, I was that was one of the regular rotation bands, or I don't know if it's a band or I don't know if it's
I think it's multiple people.
yeah, but well, just like the it's interesting enough. It's not repetitive. Like they're trying weird new sounds and things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like it's nice. It's smooth. Like you don't nothing changing too much, but there's still like story to it that you can
yeah.
just
So
like
it
listen to
builds
it
up
all,
and
like listening, chopping the same soundbite over and over again. Whatever you're doing on a day, if you're writing, especially if it's
yeah.
raining too.
Well, Sugar Roast is one of those bands too that I is similar where they'll have a 12-minute song that's mostly instrumental, but they're
Yeah.
even when their voice comes on, the lyrics don't mean anything. It's just pretty much another instrument. It's great music to be in the the background to.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad that you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm a music snob. Okay, I think it's my turn.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm saving my best question for last.
Oh, actually, me too.
Has nothing to do with YouTube. Okay, but this one is what's something your YouTube, well, kind of, what's something your YouTube audience doesn't know about you that would really surprise them?
really surprise them.
Yeah, like they'd be like, "What?"
Well, I think my age is a little bit of one. When I first started showing my face, people made comments right away, and the main comment that I remember sticking in my mind was, "He looks like an older Matt Pat," and I was like, "I don't know, I don't even know who that is." So I looked up Matt Pat,
He's
and now I
older.
know who Matt Pat is, and then I looked up how old he is, and he's exactly 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
Uh, so if I look like an older version of a person who's a straight decade older than me, I think it would surprise a lot of people to find out that I'm only 25. Uh, I think
Maybe
the beard does a
facial hair.
lot of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny because I actually every time I don't actually like having that long of a beard, but I feel like it is good for videos to have a beard just to like give you some sort of I don't know credentials to look older than 25.
Never
Uh,
mind the fact that you studied this in college.
Yeah, yeah, never mind the fact. It's a little added spice. It's a little added, trust spice between you
Mm.
and your audience. But I don't actually like having that long of a beard. So every day or every time I record a video, next thing I do is shave immediately, like clean shave. And so every time you see me in a video, I haven't filmed a video in a while. That's why this is so long. But every time you see me in a video, just know that like 30 minutes after that, I'm like clean shaven again. And I don't shave until the next video. Like every beard you get is like always like a 2 or 3 week beard. That's why it never really changes. Is because it's just like every new video.
That's yeah.
So it kind of maintains the illusion that I'm an old person.
You heard it here first, folks.
It surprises me when I'd say I'm 25 sometimes. It's like,
You're,
man, I'm old and I'm young. Like,
but you're further along than I was, man.
yeah. Well, it's funny looking at like my YouTube audience per se, and like they're most of them are older than me, and I
Really?
just feel like that is a weird relationship to be like, oh, I'm listening to like the science facts from a person who's younger than me. Like, I don't know. Like, I
Huh.
don't mind doing that, but there's not many people who do what I do who are younger than me. So it's like it's hard to know if I would trust a younger person compared
That's
to an older
interesting.
person.
Most of my audience is younger than me, so
Yeah, I feel like most people's audiences, maybe not. I feel like I'm in a weird situation to be honest.
yeah, you are. I mean, well, the YouTube audience is getting older. I've noticed over the years. Like, I have some Patreon supporters who,
Oh,
um,
Patreon supporters are definitely older than kids. That's for
well,
sure.
they can, yeah, financially
God
or
bless
stable.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, if they're in their 70s, though, I'm just like, wow, you
Good
connected
for
with
you,
this. That's
man. Yeah.
good because I do have pop culture references, and I'm just like, I am always wondering, like, who has actually seen Forrest Gump? I reference that movie from time to time.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when I make videos, I know there are only two people in the world I know are going to watch the video. My mom and my girlfriend. And so I know that like the vague audience out there, because neither of them are that much into what I do. I mean, they've become interested, I guess, a little just because I, do it so
Same.
much. But like I
Yep. Same.
write, from the very beginning of a script, I know that it's going to be viewed by two people who don't really know all that much about the subject, but who are going to have to watch it anyway.
Hmm.
I use those. Those are like kind of my bumpers, like stay within the realm of stuff that I could feel like I could explain to them. And they'd be
Yeah,
like, interested in.
that's a good way to go about it, for sure.
Yeah. Is it my turn?
I don't know. I always get lose track. I think so. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. This one, it's funny. Said I wrote all these questions like 2 months ago, or whenever I first reached out to you about doing this is when I wrote like most of these. And it's just funny because this is question 7. In your opinion, how is Joe Biden doing as a president so far? I want your raw opinion. And I just think that's so funny because like the answer you could have given compared to like 2 months ago might have been the same, depending, or it might be like drastically different. So
Yeah.
the question is, how, in your honest opinion, you don't have to get too deep into it. I'm just curious. I'm curious. I've listened to you speak about presidents so much, and all of American history. And I think we're all very curious, especially your viewers, what you feel about them.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because he's not the same as Obama. A lot of people thought it would be like Obama 2.0. But the differences I noticed with him compared to Obama are mostly with foreign policy. surprisingly, Biden has a less aggressive foreign policy than Obama did. Like that was one of my biggest critiques of Obama was he increased drone warfare and he increased he got us all involved with Libya and uh, sure like wrapped it up in Iraq, but at the same time the quagmire kept going on in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I
Whereas,
remember that, people at
yeah,
the first election were talking like about as a major point of like the debates or whatever being getting out of the wars. And like that
mhm.
just never happened.
Oh yeah, all the most popular candidates in the primaries in both the Republican Party and Democratic Party were generally non-interventionists. They wanted to
Yeah.
bring the troops home, and that's still the case, by the way. If that's how politicians get elected. But it's been amazing to see that Biden has actually decreased drone warfare. That surprised the heck out of me. Now it's not perfect because he's still like, he just sent more troops to Somalia. We're still helping Saudi Arabia bomb the crap out of Yemen, which is horrifying when you realize what's going on in Yemen. So I always focus a lot on foreign policy because they are the commander in chief, and Congress usually just kind of goes along with whatever the president wants, which is kind of sad. But they're in the military industrial complex. They get lobbyist money, so I get why they're prone to that. Now, on the other issues, like economically, the country is in a really, really bad shape. But how much can we blame Biden? I don't think we can really blame him too much for inflation. You can't blame any president for that. Like I say the same thing about Gerald Ford in the 70s. Like it wasn't his fault that inflation was out of control during his administration.
Yeah.
So that otherwise you got to look at I mean, the other part of the job is being the spokesperson for the country, and like the diplomacy is a huge part of it. And I think in that regard, there's been good and bad. Like I would say one positive of Trump was that he was countries that we historically had bad relations with, he was trying to make those better. But at the same time, there was worsening relations with Iran.
That's nice until it's North Korea that we're kind of,
Yeah, well, but I was for that though. I mean, because you look at we're cozy with China, even though they do horrible things with their concentration camps, and so Iran though, like Biden's in there now. He's trying to heal relations with Iran, but at the same time, he's turning his back on Russia, North Korea. Obviously, Russia. I want him to turn his back on Russia. I have not been a very big fan of what they've done, obviously. So I would say if I give him a grade, it's kind of just meh. Like he's not inspiring at all. At least Obama was good at talking. Biden's speeches are not very good. He sounds like an old guy about ready to fall asleep, like he's on some kind of drug or something. I get why they make fun of him for that. It's not like Trump was much better at speaking, but at least he had this charisma that Biden seems to lack.
Definitely, there was some showmanship.
Yeah, and Biden used to have it back in the day. If you watch old footage of him, he was quite charismatic.
Honestly, the scariest part is when you look at older footage of Biden, and you're just like, wow, this guy
you really should check out older footage of Trump, like from the 80s and 90s. Like he was pretty sharp back then. So like very similar thing. So if it ends up being Trump versus Biden in 2024, that would be
a disaster. I hope that doesn't.
Biggest political disappointment in my lifetime. Like what better opportunity for a third candidate?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. We started talking about the political quizzes that you took on stream, and the only one that I really found like different than the others was the I side with. That was a lot of fun.
It says I was a Green Party, and well, I guess I did vote for the Green Party once my whole life. That was Ralph Nader, I think 2008. But it's funny, in 2008, I voted for both Democrats and Republicans, and also because I kind of liked McCain, but I also liked Obama, and in the primary though, I liked Ron Paul more than McCain, so I voted for him. And then in the I think it was the caucus, because I was in Nebraska, I voted for Obama over Hillary Clinton because I didn't like Hillary Clinton. So like it was funny because 2008 was such a weird year for me, but then I ended up for the general voting the Green Party. And it's
Yeah.
like, this
Well, I guess
shows
that's
you.
probably, you gotta think about it from their perspective. Like, if you voted for this, them, and them, like, that is a pretty that's what a Green Party thing to do.
Well, and it also, I think the problem with I side with was that it was like there were certain issues that it didn't even count my score because I had something other I typed in. It didn't even count it. So
Yeah.
that's why I was like, don't go with I side with.
Yeah. I found it funny because, I did all that. I thought I like its structure of questions, like, the more like, the fact that you could give, like, I don't know, the responses were more fitting to the question, I guess. Uh
Yeah, but I still felt they were all loaded. Like they
Yeah.
were all like,
They always are, like, there's no way for
that's
those
true.
quizzes not to be. Like, I
Yeah,
think that's what I learned from watching you do
fair
it
point.
all, though, is like, "Oh, these are all sort of the same, they all have the same, like, idea behind them, and they all kinda give you the same thing." But anyway, the guy I got for who had suggested my politician, because I just did "Who should I vote for in 2024?" Because
Yeah.
I didn't know better, I just got onto the site and clicked the first thing, but, it said Pete Buttigieg, and it's
Oh,
just like,
really?
"Oh, uh, the two presidents, the two last two at least have been very old. I think a younger president would definitely be good to have too. And I think it
Yeah,
made me realize I realized I didn't really mind Pete Buttigieg too much.
he's all right. Yeah, I'd be okay with him. He's young. He's my age. Yeah, that'd be crazy. And that was what was so exciting about Obama is like he was, I think, only 45 when he ran the first time, and
Yeah.
yeah, we need that again. No more old folks in their 80s. Or yeah. All right. Well, now there's no segue.
No, like, hard cut.
So we're going back to Mars.
Oh yeah.
Predictions for predictions for traveling at oh, this is actually a two-part question. Actually, maybe three-part. I just want straight up predictions because I'm always fascinated by these three things. Um, so, at what point in the future do you think we'll be able to travel at the speed of light? Space colonization, when do you think that's going to happen first? And colonization of Mars. What's just, if you were to like estimate a year?
Well, traveling, you're gonna have to remind me of those in a second because I'm gonna get into this. But traveling at the speed of light, I feel like will never happen for humans. I think might be able to send like robots at the speed of light,
Okay.
like really lightweight, like microchips with like very sensitive small cameras. I think we could like accelerate those. I don't know. I don't want to. I'm not an optimist when it comes to like accelerating a human to the speed of light. That just seems like, I don't know. Very wishful thinking. I very much hope that happens, but I don't know if it is. Like, at that point,
Mm.
you have to realize, like, traveling at the speed of light, like, you could literally beam yourself in the form of light as information, optically or whatever. Like, that's traveling at the speed of light. Like, that's what it entails, sort of.
Yeah,
Because you're traveling as fast as like information can flow, pretty much.
that's a good point. Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe people have other ideas. Wormholes, black holes, whatever. Maybe around a black hole is how you could get, you know, a light speed travel. But I don't think we can have. I just don't think we're capable of harnessing enough energy, like, to accelerate an object to that speed. I don't know. I don't think I'm a doubter when it comes to being able to travel at light speed ever.
Okay.
Besides chips and small robots and maybe even big things, but I don't think humans would survive that. I think maybe, I don't know. I'm
Mm.
not a, I don't even know what field that would be. um, then space colonization, uh, it really depends. I'm really hopeful for space colonization. I think it will be more limited to our like neck of the woods than most people think. Like, I don't
Like
think
the
we're ever
moon?
really, yeah, like the moon, Mars, asteroids, I think mostly.
Mm.
Uh, I think the moon first. I think I made a recent video about the moon, and I think the moon is definitely the stepping stone. I think that has to come first. That's a reason I don't think Elon Musk has really fully thought out colonizing Mars, because his priority should be to colonize the moon, or just establish manufacturing on the moon. Like, that is the key, because once you can make things on the moon, then all you have to bring from Earth is people. If you can build the rockets, manufacture the fuel, do it all from space without the huge cost. The cost comes way down, and you can move people around, move equipment around, and things can actually happen. But it also has to be economic. You have to think about that too. We could mine things on the moon and build factories on the moon, and we could, I guess, support moon living through our own economy and economic actions on the moon. But beyond that, it's like, it'd be cool to go to Titan, but there's no way to pay for that. Like it's possible, but there's no economy there yet. So that's why I say asteroids, because I think that's step 2. And I think that's a lot of the reason why moon is step 1, is because once we can live on the moon, no atmosphere, nothing, we learn how to, drill into the ground, cover ourselves from radiation. Then we know how to do that on every asteroid ever. Like then we have all the technology, all the technique, all the skill of just establishing a presence on space.
Yeah.
So once we get the moon, because it's right there, we might as well practice on it. Then it's asteroids. Then it's finding resources and asteroids, and then bringing those presumably to the moon, and then refining them on the moon, and then sending raw material back to Earth, as like the only economy I can really think of to support space colonization.
Do you think that we'll be living, or at least manufacturing on the moon within the next 100 years?
Manufacturing some things. I don't think like a lot. Like I have this optimistic idea that like we move all manufacturing there, like all steel manufacturing, all aluminum manufacturing, like everything there, because the fumes there's no climate change is not going to happen on the moon. Relative to the Earth, like it's a lot less bad if that's polluting the moon. And I know some people would disagree with that, but I disagree with their disagreement. But I think for our time, it's going to be about building like structures first. Like we're going to land a ship there, and then we're going to have to build like some sort of structure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to get to the point, at least within our lifetime, where we're like mining like iron or like smelting it and sending it to the Earth. But I think we will see the establishment of infrastructure. And I think that's the important first step, is like just having a base, like having a place, like the same as the International Space Station, but on the moon, like having one of those. That's your foot in the door. We should also have one of those for the deep ocean, but that's a conversation for another time.
Oh.
But yeah, I think you have to be realistic about it, because I like to talk about it in my videos, and I've given it a lot of thought. And I don't know, in college I took a class on colonialism and like its effects on people and whatever, and my professor was very very outspoken about the fact that understanding the fact that it was all driven by economics. Like there was no other thing that like it all has to come from a perspective of earning money, or it doesn't really happen.
Well, it's not just money, it's just resources.
Yeah, and the only thing that can generate that amount of money is vast amount of resources, which are out there, which could in fact support it. But that's what I see in like the term of 100 to 200 years. I'm super down for a moon base, though. I think if I was like a bit more known of a celebrity, I would challenge Space Force to build a base on the moon. Because like how can you call yourself Space Force if you don't have like a base on the moon?
Oh gosh,
that's where are you based? Oh, you're based on Earth? Well, then you're just like not Space Force. Like you're like if your base is in space, then you get to call yourself Space Force. Is all I'm saying.
I wonder if that's their first priority. I don't even know. Space Force.
What are their priorities?
Yeah, I know. I think it was more about.
I mean, like it's funny because like that's one of the things that I didn't really care about in the Trump administration, as dumb as many other things that were in that administration. Space Force is like, we were going to make it at some point. It's like, it's a military thing. I don't care. As long as more money gets put into like exploring space or like creating space infrastructure, I'm kind of down with it.
Yeah. You mentioned it has to have an economic value before we pursue it.
I mean, there's always like investment and like risk at the very beginning, but
yeah, I mean, I just looked this up, by the way. Like, I think it's still mostly just PR at this point. But I got a lot of flack on Twitter. Go figure. When I tweeted the quickest way to learn history or anything is to learn history, but that's not the controversial part. But then I said the quickest way to learn history is economics. And people thought I was reductive or whatever. Like I'm oversimplifying.
Were you reductive?
But I stand by it because I don't think people understand what economics is. Like, I feel like I have to tell really smart people this all the time, like what the definition of economics is. It's
Well, I
the
feel like there's
study.
just like this idea of the economy, and it's like that's not a real thing. Like it's just like
No, it's not. It has like, and it,
like a
people
million
always say
different things
money.
happening at once, you know?
It's it's uh it's literally all about scarcity and the choices we make based on scarcity. And what if you solve the scarcity problem, then the opportunities for exploration are endless because that's what holds us back time and time again is scarcity. And people don't seem to understand that's what economics is. Like, uh honestly, every single freaking war in history, scarcity was a factor. You can't deny that. If you're denying that, then I think you're
Yeah.
being, maybe you're just trolling. I don't know, but
No, I mean, I made a video a while ago called like the problem with Africa's borders, and I looked at colonialism and resources and religions and ethnicities and languages, and at the end
I
of the
mean, there's
day,
other factors. There are
well, at
absolutely.
the end of the day, you realize like all of those things are factors, but
Yes.
people don't fight each other until there's no food. Like all of the justifications for attacking different tribes or different people or whatever is like they there was a drought or like there was no cattle
Yeah.
left. Like they it's all comes from scarcity, however you say it. At the end of the day, like it's what drives people's decisions, I guess. And I think it is very important. When I went to school for environment, I had to take an econ class because it is like such an important thing to like pragmatically and just like to understand to
Yeah, your whole.
know what like guides things that are happening in the world. Like it all comes back to economics at a certain
I'm
point. Like,
astounded by the ignorance of economics. That's one reason. Like at my high school, the last high school I taught, they didn't have an economics class ever, and so I started one there, and it was still an elective. It should be mandatory. It should be mandatory every school, and you're seeing it. Like, just go online and find out what people think causes inflation. That's your quickest way to learn that they don't know what they're talking about, and if they understood it, they would understand a lot of other things. They really
yeah,
would.
well, that's what I was talking about earlier. How like the question isn't like what's more important, inflation or unemployment. It's like it's both. It's
Yeah.
wow. All right.
Well,
Is it my turn or is it your turn? That's how
how
you
many?
think Joe Biden's doing. I forgot what the question was.
Well, oh no, I think it's your turn because I asked about space. You
Oh
didn't
yeah,
really
yeah,
get.
that's right.
Oh
That's
wait,
right.
we
Yeah,
never
yeah.
talked
We
about
talked.
Mars.
I just
When are we going to
completely
be
forgot.
colonizing Mars?
Oh, Mars. I think Mars is a potential for the future, but I guess that that's why it kind of got lost in the conversation. But economics, I don't know what we're gonna make, how we're gonna make money from colonizing Mars. Like that's my biggest concern. I know Elon
Mm.
Musk says that like they'll become this like amazing. Sorry, I'm trying to get my computer charger. They'll become this like amazing like creative culture that like makes a whole bunch of new technologies the same way that like America was, and we invented planes and stuff. But I just don't buy that. I just don't think that like. Oh, here we go.
So you're
I don't
more.
think that's a viable option or idea.
You're thinking not even this century then.
I
I need a number.
I hate
I
to
need
be
a
the bad news. It's possible. I believe that Elon is going to give it a swing. Like he's definitely going to try, and like there's definitely going to be people on Mars in our lifetime. I think we're definitely going to witness that.
Okay, then that's enough for me.
I'm excited for
Right.
that. I tried to volunteer for like a Mars mission when I was like 18 or something. Like I'm super excited about
Before
that.
you were in a relationship.
Well, before, yeah, I quickly learned that my height, I'm not allowed to do like a lot of things.
Or you're too tall?
Yeah, I talled out of it. The selection went to 6'2". It was like between like 5'8" and 6'2", and I was like, like I can't believe it. Like I can't even lie and say I'm 6'2". Like I'm at the point where I can't. I'm too tall to fly by saying I'm 6'2". It's like,
Yeah.
well, I should probably be honest with them if they're going to bring me to Mars also.
What about the age? What's the age range that they said?
I think you had to be like younger than like 35 or something, maybe. I don't know. It was a while ago, but I remember just that. But I think that we will get people to Mars. Maybe a base too. Like that's all that I can really see. Again, it's just like it's how do you justify spending that much money to get there? And, until there's unlimited energy and unlimited materials, which is possible. Like if we started mining asteroids, that is what would allow for that to happen. If we could just like shoot, raw materials at Mars already like refined, that would definitely make it cheaper and then make it more possible. But until somebody comes up with like I don't know, a believable economic incentive of being on Mars and terraforming Mars, like I think the investment is 1,000 times too big for anyone to legitimately like make a business and a venture. And that's what colonies always are. I think Knowing Better made a great video about company towns, and that's exactly what colonies would be if they were in space. Is just like companies paying people, miners, whoever mines asteroids. So yeah, I could see us getting to Mars, but I can't see us doing anything there besides research. Research is amazing, but it's not going to pay the bills unless the benefits of it will benefit humanity. Like as I said earlier, like coming up with structures and whatever that could survive these environments would definitely help us here. But that's not like a direct payment. That's like kind of indirect or indirect.
Yeah, no, that's a really well thought out answer, actually.
Yeah, I put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah, I knew you would have a good answer. That's why I was like, I got to just straight up.
Yeah. Well, I get questions like that all the time. Like, can we terraform the moon? Like, can we terraform Mars? I almost made a video disagreeing with Kurzgesagt. Again, I feel like I mentioned them a bunch, but they made a video about terraforming Venus. And I made a video about the geography of Venus. And I was going to make a companion video about terraforming it, but I just don't think that's possible. Like, I really don't believe that Venus is possible to terraform it. Just, I mean, some of the technologies they described were like amazing and like possible, but it just, again, it doesn't reach the price threshold to me.
Yeah.
The supply.
I was skeptical myself. I watched that video. I was pretty skeptical myself. I remember watching. I don't know much about it, but yeah.
But that's how I feel. I hate to be a pessimist about it because I love space exploration. It is something that I find so interesting and more interesting, the more we get out. Like the James Webb Space Telescope made a whole video about exoplanets recently. Like,
so you still come across as an optimist to me. I'm sorry, you don't need to worry about that.
I try to be a realist. I think like I give in. It's whenever I give in like a video when I'm just like, let's I said it in a recent video, let's put on our optimist hats. Because it's always the more fun thing to think about. It's never fun to think like, oh, there's no alien life in the universe. Like, then what, why bother thinking about it? But then if you, think like, oh, there could be alien life, then it's like, well, how would it be? Like, what would it look like? What would it talk and eat? And,
yeah, that's related to my last question for you, but we'll hold off on that.
Oh yeah. All right.
Okay. What's your next one?
My next one, number 8. All right. So this is a good one. This is or number 9, actually. Yeah, I was talking with my mom's cousin, who I don't know very well, but she was talking about my YouTube channel and, it's just, she was very excited about it. And she called me a scientist. And I disagreed with that. But I asked her about it and she says, yeah, she thinks I'm a scientist. And I disagree because I don't do experiments. I don't do anything like that. I think I'm more of a communicator, but, for you, I think that the better cases could be made because you're not a scientist, obviously, no offense, but you could be a historian. If you think about what you do and what historians do, like all they do is study history and come up with like interpretations and like through lines of history and what's happening, and then they publish things, bring those ideas onto people. And I think you could make the case for not a scientist but a historian. So my question is, do you consider yourself a historian?
When I was in grad school, yeah, at times. Because I was doing original research. I was doing stuff that literally no other person, as far as I was aware, on the entire planet had done, like digging through archives and looking at sources that no one else would ever even think about looking at. But that's a really small part of my life. I would consider myself more a communicator like yourself because the legwork has already been done for me. I'm relying on historians for my information. I mean, the only reason why I'm able to produce a video every single week is because I'm leaning heavily on what the experts have already done for me. So yeah, and same with you. Like I I would call you a communicator as well. You think like a scientist, but as far as experimentation and original research, you're not actually in the field actually doing that.
Yeah,
Because,
that's what I tried to explain to her, but she's
yeah.
yeah, no, it's all science. It's
Well,
like,
but
you
science,
know, I
honestly,
don't mind
science.
if you think that way, you know.
I would have a hot take to say that maybe science communication is just as important, if not more important, than being a scientist these days. Because you look at all the misinformation now, especially over the last 2 years, and I get why there's so much emphasis in colleges now to like you know we're going to have a program where you get a degree in this science communication because what you're doing is inspiring future scientists. They would not exist if it weren't for great science communicators like yourself. So,
And you too, of course.
well, yeah, I hope to. I mean, my
Social
goal.
science.
Yeah, but I'm not in. I mean, I don't know what your goal is with your channel ultimately, other than to make that sweet ad revenue money.
Ooh.
But my broader goal for what I do for doing what I do is to increase empathy. And so I'm not trying to increase like how many people major in history in college or become historians or even become social studies teachers. I just want average everyday folks to just understand each other better so that we can all survive.
I
So
think that's
that's
a
what
very
drives me.
good,
What,
very like noble
well,
thing
yeah,
to
well,
strive
yeah.
for.
While we're at it, what would be your goal, your broader goal?
I think over the past few years, I've come to the conclusion that like the environment is something that I deeply care about, but I think is just important. And my goal is basically, I can't make people care about the environment. There's no way to make somebody care about something, but if you can make people interested in it, and if you can bring people into it, then they care automatically a lot of times. If it's interesting, if they find this new thing, they'll care about it. So my idea is sort of just to bring people into caring more about the environment, geography, biology, like all of those fields, all of those things that I think are very important, just to offer an accessible way into learning about it and I don't know, becoming a part of it, part of the environmentalist movement or, just a learned individual.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, that's my
No,
mantra.
that's a great segue to my next question.
Oh, yeah.
If you're at a party, I don't know, you don't like if you're
Oh, I
like me, you
party.
you probably don't go to very many parties. But yeah, if you're at a party, what is your your favorite Earth science fact to share at a party?
Oh, man. I'm always the person I find other people's pets at parties. I like if it's a party with people's pets, I usually go to them. And I don't know, I always find it interesting looking at people's pets because they always have different ones. And I know this hardly relates to earth science, but I do like talking about like how weird they are and how like cats, for example. I have a cat literally right there sleeping, and it's like this
Yeah.
this like feral animal that used to hunt like grasslands in Africa is now just like on a pillow sitting right across from me. And I think that great icebreaker, especially at parties, if there is an animal. But like how weird it is that like they exist, I guess. Like it makes more sense if we both had a few drinks. But
Well,
like
yeah, and
just like how weird it is overall that like I don't know, there's a distinction between animals and human.
yeah, we're animals.
Like
I
I think about that a lot, like a lot more than I think your average person does, but just a lot more than like most people. Even like I don't know, it does boggle the mind a bit just to think about like our animal nature. I think a lot of the time.
yeah, I mean, back to the Ricky Gervais special last night. He talked a lot about that. You'd probably really dig it. Like he was talking about how cats are just like it's amazing we let them in our house and they domesticated themselves. Like they didn't even they
Yeah,
just
this
like
guy.
started coming up to us making sounds. We're like, oh, okay, yeah, here's some food, like and and dogs is even more fascinating to me because like
Dogs are like
they've evolved it to a way they will do anything for you. They worship you. And my grandparents, like they're in their upper 80s. Shout out to Grandpa Roush and also my grandpa or grandma Beat, still alive, still kicking it. But yeah,
grandma
like
beat.
they they're so attached to their dogs. Like it's almost to a point where like I feel like, like that's taken the place of their kids who,
Oh, I mean,
they don't get
take
visited
it
as
as a
much.
man who's recently moved out of his mom's house. She has definitely acquired animals to fill the void.
Yeah, well, the strong connection we have a dog. We lost our cat a few months ago, sadly, but
Oh,
it is weird how close of a bond you have with an animal you can't even speak with. And so I do think that's a good, and that's a universal thing. So yeah, like I mean, my question was earth science, but what you could do is like, that's a gateway into so many other
well,
things.
yeah, it is a study in animal behavior. That's what I like. That's how I view them a lot of the time. Like, see how they react to things. I just bought a leash I got a new kitten about a year ago or 2 years ago. We just got a leash for her, and we've been taking her outside. And it's just like it's interesting taking her outside and seeing like her entire world change. Like she started in this apartment and like lived her whole life here, and then just to
Yeah,
go outside, like the birds are finally there. She can't chase them because she's on a leash, but she's like always looked at them with such like mystery and intrigue. Uh, and it is interesting how it plays into their like animal nature.
yeah, yeah.
I try not to talk about earth science at parties, though. I guess that's why I don't have like a perfect example.
Oh, I bring up history and
Well,
especially.
it's funny. Like I don't talk about earth science, but the last few, or like I guess the last big party I went to was a wedding, right? And it's a friend of mine who's also 25 got married, and he had a bunch of his friends from his like hometown because we met in college come, and they all came up to me, and because they all knew what I did, and they were so excited. They were like, they wanted to talk about Atlas Pro. So it's not like I talk about earth science with a lot of people, but a lot of people do like, oh, like that's so cool that you have like a YouTube channel, and like that.
Yeah,
And then that also is a segue into talking about it. They're like, so, either they know what it is or they know that I am just successful and they're curious anyway. Then it's like, oh,
yeah,
then I have to explain to them what I do. And it's like, oh, it's earth science. It's, geography, geology, biology, ecology, whatever. And then it's, pretty basic, whatever they have to ask. But that's really the conversation piece at the parties these days is
I feel weird. Yeah, I get some people that come up and it is weird, and I
it is
honestly,
weird. I like it most of the time. It hasn't happened much to me yet, though, if I'm being honest.
yeah. Well, you have a lot more followers than I do on YouTube.
Yeah.
Actually, like another weird thing is that like with you, you can kind of separate. Well, your earlier videos, you weren't even on camera, and
Yeah,
it
there's
is kind
two
of nice.
clear eras.
Yeah, like there's the channels like Wendover Productions. I've met him. His name is Sam. He has another channel called Half as Interesting, and he's
Yeah.
pretty big. But at the same time, I feel like he gets his privacy because very few people know what he looks like. And my face literally is my brand, which is weird,
Yeah,
man.
well,
It's weird.
it was weird even seeing my face on your thumbnail for this event.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't put my face on my thumbnails. Like apparently, like this is the first iteration of my face on YouTube as a thumbnail.
Whoa.
And it's just like, oh, it's funny. It's funny to think.
Yeah,
But that is also sort of why I thought it would be good to show my face. Also, it's like now I get to come and talk to you. Whereas, I mean, you would probably have Sam from Wendover if you wanted to, but like I feel like it also creates a barrier between a lot of people if you never show your face and you never like show your personality at all. Like it sort of does become more of a brand than a person.
yeah, that's a good point. And maybe they will trust you more if they see you're a real person. Like there's YouTube
Well,
channels out there that are
that's
just
an
robots.
advantage of YouTube, is like you get to be like a person. You get to just be one person who works on their own computer. And, it's a special aspect of the platform to be able to be that and to give people that because people like that. People do enjoy it when it's people who are interested in doing these things on their own. And that,
Well, there's a growing trend to me or a growing trend that I've noticed on YouTube of there's content that's made completely by bots, and
yeah, there's a lot of that.
it's a little creepy. And
It's weird
honestly,
how much of that is like children's content too. Like I don't see a lot of that sort of stuff maybe just because my
Yeah.
recommendations, but I do see it like when there's just children stuff around.
Well, I noticed it with I like a lot of geography and travel channels, and
Oh
so
yeah, there's a lot of those too. Yeah.
they plug in the Wikipedia facts and then they churn out a video. And so
I can
yeah,
tell when people just take from Wikipedia now. Like I can feel it in their script. Like no judgment. Like I definitely did that. I definitely
yeah.
do still.
Well,
Sometimes,
Wikipedia is always my first place I go. It's my launching pad, as I call it.
yeah, it's where
Yeah,
it's where it all starts. It's like where you start
yeah.
understanding a topic. But like you can clearly tell some people read it and then just like copy it word for word.
They never look at any other source. Like, oh
Yeah.
no, that's not good.
Like the video I just released now, I didn't put any sources because it's literally just about elevation. Like it's not really a source. It's like you can go to anywhere, increase the elevation 2,000 meters. There's no. It's like it forms a peninsula. Yeah, it does. Like
That's just your opinion, man.
yeah. Unless the world is not round, but unless
Freaking liberal.
that's the case, I think guaranteeable scientific facts.
Leftist with your elevation conspiracy theory. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, we're to our last questions. We're gonna.
All right. Is it your turn or is it my turn?
Well, however you want to do it. Do you want to end with your question?
I think my question is a good last question. I don't know if it's like a closer. If it's like very, I don't know.
That's fine. I'm gonna ask you mine then.
Right.
My last question for you is these UFOs, man. What's your theory? I've been following this. I don't know if you listened to the hearing.
Can you bring it up on screen?
They had congressional hearings a few days ago.
Yeah, like a while ago.
Oh, this was a few days ago.
I've been like a little paying attention to that a little, and I think they are UFOs, but I don't think UFOs are aliens. Like that I think is the major loss that a lot of people make. Like I think they're definitely just spy planes. There's some weird thing that somebody concocted and tried to like scoot past our surveillance. And and like the weirder it is, the harder it is to describe to like whoever is seeing these, the easier it is to get past them. And I think they are a national security threat, like that says. Like I think it's ridiculous that the suggestion that they're aliens. I think they're very clearly like some country, is specking into something that nobody else is expecting, or putting camouflage on something. Somebody's getting crafty, I guess, is the ultimate idea. I don't think they're aliens. I do believe in aliens, but I don't think these are aliens. Because I feel like that's what a lot of people jump to as an assumption, is that like,
well, no, we don't have to jump to that assumption though. I'm just amazed by the technology. Like, if you look at, I don't know if you've looked at all the footage or not, but it's not
the thing. Is like it's always like, I don't know. It's always through this little like filter of imperfection where it's like, what is that though? Like I love videos like that. There were a few months ago, there were a bunch more. And I think since like channels like Corridor Crew have been like going through some of them are just like plain, mistakes or whatever, but some of them do have more interesting explanations. It is a very mysterious situation though. I will say that, like the fact that first off, they released this footage, like this footage is released. Oh yeah, this, and the fact that like we've admitted to not knowing what it is. Like you'd think that we'd either say we found like spy planes or we just wouldn't say anything. And it's just, it's very weird that we are in the situation where the government is saying like, these are unidentified. What do you think they are? We're going to have hearings on them.
That is to me the most, I have lived my entire life not trusting my government very much. I'll just be straight. Like I'm not very
a good old fashioned American.
Yeah, like and the thing is, this adds to me credibility because they're laying it out there, like saying they're not like, yeah, this has happened. We have these objects in the sky. They are able to start and stop really quickly. They are able to go at amazing speeds against the wind and all this stuff, like technology that we're not supposed to be at yet. We don't know what they are. So now, are they lying and saying, oh, well, I mean, saying they don't know what they are, but really there's some
conspiratorial again, are we?
But at the same time, like if it's a different country, like I'm under the assumption that it's not aliens. Okay. I'm at that
I
point.
just feel like you could build something to travel that weirdly if that was your goal. I think the mistake is like we're thinking like, oh, they'd want to build something that could fly super fast or do all these things, but like maybe they just want to build something that when we look
But
at it, we're like,
you're
what
you're
is that?
stuck.
How's it doing that? I guess
But
the
Kailyn, you're
movement is a bit.
stuck. You're stuck on the alien thing. I'm not even bringing that up anymore. I'm saying that these objects are amazing, and the fact that nobody knows anything about them, and at these hearings last week, they just kept going on and on about like, yeah, we don't know what they are.
That is crazy.
To me, this is like something that everybody should be talking about all the time, and nobody is for some reason. Like uh,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're looking at different footage, by the way, in this video. I'm gonna turn that off because they aren't even looking at the right footage.
Yeah.
The fact is, you had Air Force pilots that are not.
Well, that was what really I watched that. That's what kind of convinced me about them a little was like the people who were like, I'd never seen anything fly like this. There was one who said it like turned on a dime and like looked straight at him, and like
Yeah, and
that is
memory's
it
not
is.
the best, but
It's through it all, it's like what is the logical answer then? Like if it is too insanely engineered to be like a human, like I don't like. I think it's Russia. Like I'm just gonna Russia, China. I'm just gonna name names. They've
I don't
come up
think
with
it's
something.
Russia. I
They've
think
come up with
Russia.
something sneaky.
Yeah, I think
I
it
don't
might
know.
be
It like
China.
it is. I have no idea. Like
Well, either China or a secret operation within the United States. Because you think about the budget of the military United States, it's quite large. So, but it's exciting to me that this technology even exists, and to me that's like that actually gets me optimistic about the future of not
of
just
like yeah,
not
space.
just
Well,
flight or anything. Yeah, like
best case scenario is that it is aliens, and then we catch them and take apart their ship, and then learn all their alien technology. So
I
that
don't
is
know.
fingers crossed.
I just don't. Honestly, I hope it's not aliens. I really don't, because we if they have that kind of technology, we
Yeah,
don't.
that's probably
We're
bad news
screwed.
anyway.
Yeah, we're basically just a pest.
Well,
So
yeah,
anyway,
I
maybe
the most advanced take I can give is I don't know it. I'm not an engineering guy. I don't know what's possible engineering wise, but the descriptions sound crazy. But I think it has to be of somebody trying to get closer to our borders or something. I don't know. Maybe I don't think it could be like a defense machine that like we've made. Like it's not a weather balloon that we just got rid of or a new stealth bomber. Because if it was a new stealth bomber, like we would know about it and we wouldn't tell everyone about it. We wouldn't we wouldn't do stuff like that. So the fact that that's I guess why it makes it so interesting is because we're talking about it and it's being brought to like attention and there's a spotlight on it. So I'm excited now that now that I learned how little I know about these things. That
yeah,
there's
keep
like
an
a
eye
whole.
on it. It's interesting.
I got super excited when there was a story months ago that like the Pentagon was going to like drop like a report about it, but then all the report ended up being was like, we don't know.
Yeah, which again,
that is true. We don't know.
I have a lot of respect for folks, especially experts that say I don't know. They need to say it more often.
What do you like hope it is? Like, what's the best case scenario for this?
I hope it's not aliens. Which is
But
opposite.
then, like, isn't it worse though if it's not aliens? If there are other humans that, obtain such like mind-boggling technology that we can't even comprehend it. Like,
not if it's like
a little scarier.
Not if it's Americans or they're
Well,
on your.
yeah, but it's probably not
team.
because then we wouldn't be talking about it. Like
But,
it's probably Russian or Chinese. Like
they've been seen around the world.
Korean.
Someone just commented on this that they've spotted these objects in all over the world. Like I know South America,
Russia would still like surveil not only the U.S. They'd have every country. So it's if we don't know what it is, then I think it's somebody else. Like it's funny I made a video about the swarm the other day or the other month, and it's very much about that. It's like, who are our enemies? Like, who would put this here? Like, why? What? Like, they have to figure out who their enemy even is, and it's like, I guess that applies to this. It's like, who are these people? Like, what are these flying things everywhere? Like, what? Without it's a shame because the only way to figure it out is to like down one too, to like shoot one down.
And there's been no provocation. They just kind of appeared. They're
Yeah,
not
and it's like,
attacking.
what if it's an alien, and what if all we had to do to save the Earth was to not attack it? Then we're just like, then we look like idiots, And then it's, of course, it's America that had attacked the alien drone,
Or we're in a simulation and we're just
Yeah,
getting
or
weird updates. And
or they're just weird lens flares in their cameras.
oh,
right.
I don't think it's that though. That's been
Some
Anyway.
of them, whatever.
Sorry to
Some
go
of them
down that
are. So
rabbit
yeah,
hole.
the ones like endorsed by the Defense Department are not. I feel confident in that. But there are all sorts of videos on the internet and in all corners that are that you should not take with such.
Oh, I knew that.
All right, my last question. I thought this was a good one to end on. Just as a person, as a fellow YouTuber, as a companion, or not a companion, a coworker, I guess. Even
colleague.
Colleague. Do you have any advice for me?
Oh wow, yeah.
Any advice? I have much to learn still. I think you're
Well,
much older.
And you're like seeking my wisdom.
Yeah.
I would just say like it always comes down to trying to be happy, and so balance, of course, is important. So, but ultimately, in my opinion, what makes somebody happy is if they find their purpose in a community. You seem to have found your purpose.
I would say so.
But it can be isolating. So I think you reaching out to me and other YouTubers is important, like us meeting in person. Like that's what we were talking about here.
If I run into you, look for the tall guy at VidCon or whatever.
Yeah, you should come to VidCon. By the way, anyone watching, I'll be at VidCon in June. And especially with the pandemic, this VidCon was supposed to happen in 2020. They pushed it back a year, then they pushed it back another year, and they're still taking precautions. But just seeing people in person, I think I do feel like I am lucky because my wife helps out with the channel, and she's a big part of what I do. So, but that community part is often forgotten. Also, the balance part, like
it's all back to the balance, man.
Are you getting summoned?
Somebody, maintenance just knocked on my door actually, but they're gone now.
Tell them to go away. Oh
yeah.
no, actually, no. You embrace them. They can be part of your community as well. Yeah, my whole point is relationships is what makes life worth living, and so. Yeah,
I think that's this is the first time in a while for me. When you go through college, like so much of your life just changes so constantly. Like you live in a new dorm every year, and your friends change every year sometimes or whatever. And this is the first time in my life that I've just lived in the same place for a few years. Mm-hmm. Like I finally bought a desktop computer because I knew I wasn't gonna have to move it 10 times a year. But it's at the point where now it's finding a way to be sustainable, and that is finding balance. It's the more you do it, the less young you are, the older you get. It's you're never as energetic and excited about things. I mean, I am as excited. It's just everything takes longer and more calculation, and it's I don't know. It's like what you said. It is balance, and it is finding ways of maintaining your sanity, because it really is what relationships do. Talking to people, even this is I don't know. I feel my speech has broken down in the past few years. I feel like I'm not as good of a talker anymore as I used to be.
Really?
Let people in the comments say, if you're playing at home, take a shot every time I say and you'll have a good time in this conversation.
I wouldn't worry about that. That's all of us. Yeah,
I hope so.
But I think that you already have a good direction, though, because you also have, we talked about earlier, you have options in case this YouTube thing doesn't work out, and you have other goals. And I always when I talk about these deeper things with my friends and family, I'm always I always bring up what's your goal right now? What are you working towards? If you're not working towards anything, then that can lead to depression. It's a serious thing. And because of the way modern society is structured, where we're all glued to social media and our phones, it takes extra work just to have a normal life. So I'm lucky because I'm what's called a xennial, where I was born in 1981. So uh, the internet, I remember what it was like before the internet, and like, so I think that helps. But I still see like it doesn't mean that I don't fall for the same traps. Like, there's some times where you just need to lose your phone. You just need to also like go away
Very,
from the
very useful.
computer where you work on your videos. Like you just gotta maybe even unplug it, and that way, because it'd be a pain in the butt to boot, like start it up.
Yeah.
Do stuff like that in order to force balance. And of course, the thing I do the most that helps with that is I go to the gym, and my wife and I go on walks with the dog. You walk your cat, so that's a.
Yeah, well, she's terrified of the outside world. It's more like babysitting, but yeah.
Oh, I would never do that, by the way. Cats are pretty hard to take on walks, but
yeah, they're very funny too. Well, that's good. I feel good. I feel like I've been trying to have balance, and I don't know. It's good. It's impossible to reach balance. That's what you realize too. Is everything's moving, even while you're staying still.
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like you're getting older. Like
nice
even if you still
comments.
do the same thing you do every day, like you're still gonna get older. So you're still gonna have to change. Like you
Embrace
no
change.
Yeah, there is no what's the saying? There is no sure thing but change.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
that's some sort
variations
of
of
thing.
that.
Yeah, there are no
The only
guarantees.
constant is change.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
it.
If you have any last questions from the audience, I want to open it up to folks. If you have questions for Atlas Pro, looks like you got a lot of fans here, actually.
Yeah, I see these guys.
They're saying nice stuff about you.
Genetic tree cloning. Can't say I know enough about genetic tree cloning. I mean, I feel like people have been doing that for years at this point.
That's a great man. Yeah. I remember I went through my phase of like not trusting GMOs, and then someone finally broke it down. Like, that's the only reason why we have enough food for the planet.
Yeah, like,
oh, okay.
Even if, like, I don't know, the greatest fear of GMOs, right, is just like they slice out like an octopus gene and put it in like an apple gene, and then it like has some weird side effect. But it's like, that's not really how it works. Like, it's not going to be like octopus poison or something. Like, everything's tested. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I obviously started off not really liking it just from sheer hearing about it, but then when I got into it, it's like, it's fine. It makes sense. Like, I mean, obviously there are limits. There need to be regulations. People owning seeds or whatever. All that sort of stuff is, there's nuance to everything. But overall, I don't think GMOs are in any bad sense, like necessarily by nature. I think they're a good thing for humanity, honestly.
I agree. Do you like New York? Is that your favorite state?
I mean, I've only really lived here my whole life. I've been to other states, obviously. I used to be a tour guide, actually. I feel like you'd find this really interesting. I live in New York, where I grew up. I live near an international school where people from all over the world come to learn English. And on the weekends, they want to go to other American cities, right? I live in New York, so they can always go to New York City, but sometimes they want to see Boston or Washington D.C., Philadelphia. So I used to, because I live right there, I just like would get whatever job they gave me, and it was taking like groups of like 50 international students. Usually, it was either Boston or Washington D.C. For the weekend, to show them things, to tour them around. I've been to Boston like 100 times. I don't even know how many times I've been to them.
I love Boston so much.
It's a great city. I love Boston too. I definitely like it a lot more than New York, I think. Like, as a city, I like DC honestly more. It's smaller. Like, Washington has more of a financial district and like tall skyscrapers. But it does have nice parks too. But DC just feels like, I don't know. It is smaller and it is like calmer, but there's a lot to do, a lot of more like open space. I know you've been to DC, but I like both of those places a lot. I don't really like how cold it is here in New York. It gets cold. I mean, I've lived here my whole life. I don't know anything different, but I definitely, like, the older I get and the more I realize that my income is not dependent on where I live, it's like, oh, the cheap, warm places are available. Like, I might as well move there. Like, in cold New York. but I do like it. I do, that's the thing too, is like I do like New York. New York is a very nice place. There's old buildings everywhere, which I really do like. Uh,
Hmm.
like everything, I don't know, there's like this is the most settled part of the country, I feel like, where I mean, you can find civilization anywhere in the country, but like there's never going to find more people than over here, and it's a very interesting feeling, and I really enjoy it. It is weird though. It is like I live in like a weird part of the state now, where I live in part of like the southern, like the Rust Belt. It's the southern tier, and like it is. There are parts of it that are also depressing, but like I guess there's no different than any other place in America or anywhere.
Yeah. Garrett asks, I guess both of us, how do you find out info about local politicians and issues? And I'm glad you're voting for the first time. I know typically you go to their website, and then almost always there's going to be at least one either town hall type thing or debate, and sometimes you have to search for it, but usually the local newspaper will put it on.
Yeah, I think hearing them speak is definitely like just a
Yeah.
baseline. I would feel weird voting for somebody without hearing them speak. Not
Yeah.
to be like, surface level, but like, I don't know. I feel like you can gain a lot by that. Like, I don't know, intentions and whatever.
You should move to Kansas. A lot cheaper than New York. Actually, no. I'm not going to end.
Well,
I'm going to end up somewhere else eventually. I got to be by mountains. You're closer to mountains than I am.
yeah, I'm in the mountains pretty much. But well, it's funny, right? I told you my girlfriend's a teacher, and it's like it's this battle between balancing places that pay teachers a lot and places that are cheap. And it
New
turns
York,
out that like there's not a lot
New
of
York
cheap
treats
places.
teachers well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like, oh well, if your work, varies depending on where we go. It's like, I don't. It doesn't matter for me. Like I make the same. It's not going to depreciate my amount, the amount of money that I make. So
Yeah.
it's a balance. Again, it's a balance, and
Well, I know Illinois and Wyoming are two states that treat their teachers really well.
yeah,
Wyoming is a surprise when people I tell them that. Like, no, yeah, they look it up. Oh, you missed it earlier, Clay.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I would,
Slow.
if it was a local politician like state representative or city council or mayor or something, I would consider that. Yeah.
Vote for
But I
Mayor
would hate
Beat.
Mayor Beat. Yeah. All right.
Somebody said Colorado is my favorite so far, or somebody in the in the chat.
The thing I'm worried about Colorado is the wildfires. That's what I'm.
Yeah, I went to Colorado last summer, and I luckily escaped any sort of wildfire. There was one like this week after I left, but it was really nice there. It is really nice.
It is.
But except for that, like there is no real like natural disasters or anything here. Like there's flooding a little. I don't live close to like where there are bad hurricanes. There are bad like nor'easters, like it snows a lot.
Yeah, that's the worst you're gonna have.
But yeah, nothing like no infernos that are gonna burn down the neighborhood. Like nothing like that.
They want to know how tall you are. Exactly.
I'll say 6'6", 2 meters. About. I'm a little bit taller than that.
Wow, that is tall. That's crazy.
I'm a tall guy. In my video today, I made a joke about I raised sea levels. 2 continents were left: Tibet, which is like a fat one, and then there's the Andes, which is like just one long straight line. And one's a big boy and one's a long boy. And I'm definitely a long boy. I'm very, very tall.
Yeah, I like Northwest Arkansas. I did talk about this earlier. Yeah, it's heart wrenching, and
I mean it's a shame. It's just like it keeps happening. Like,
yeah,
I remember all the times before this. Like you kind of, I don't want to say you've grown up to it, but like you do. There's just one every day at this point. Like not every day, but like the amount that there are is so many that like you just don't end up paying attention to a lot of them anymore.
Yeah,
like, it's hard to just continue to care about each one or like experience their deep emotions for them all. No matter how sad it is, how much of a tragedy it is, which it is. Like all of these are. I live not that far away from. Maybe I shouldn't say this. I live not that far away from where the guy who just shot up the grocery store in Buffalo drove from. I'd say our drive to Buffalo is about the same time, and it's about a 3-hour drive. And we both, like he lives like he came from very close to where I live. And it's like, I don't know. It's just weird knowing that even.
Yeah. I refuse to be desensitized to it. I think
That's, you know, it's a battle, but
especially
it is good.
elementary school, like
Yeah,
I
like those are some of the more tragic.
yeah, and I don't know. I guess there's nothing more I can say because as far as solutions, there's no one easy solution to it. I think a lot of it is cultural. Um, we have a lot of people with
I mean,
mental illness that are they're untreated. They don't have the resources to treat them. Like
because there's not the economic.
not the incentive.
Yeah.
Yeah, guns or no guns. That's such a complicated question.
I mean, I've never touched or shot a gun. I don't care if you hunt. Like I think that would be fun, to be honest. I think hunting sounds more fun if you just like do it like native style and like hunt it down and like chase it. But like gun, as far as guns go, I don't know. I don't like guns. I'm not a big fan of them, but I'm not like, I don't know. I'm not trying to take anyone's guns away. I just feel like that's a foolish endeavor, like a wild goose
Oh
chase.
yeah,
You're never going to succeed in
Americans
that.
agree. Most Americans agree with that. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a big fan of the Second Amendment in terms of like what its purpose and everything as a check on the power of government. But again, like people don't bring this up enough. When in the 1780s, they couldn't even imagine what portable weapons as powerful as they are. They can do so much destruction.
Yeah, it just like it takes a level of pragmatism where it's just like, well, we have to update. Like, there is no, you know, this was written before this technology existed. Like, you're just going to use this thing to decide all, you know, everything on, you know, this one very important you know, topic.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have much of a I don't know, saying that. I don't deal with guns, but not going to try to judge you if you do. I think hunting's fun. I mean, it seems like a good thing for, you know, not like trophy hunting, but the deer are a huge problem around here. So people hunt deer, and it's like,
yeah, that's
it's good. It's good.
Huge problem in Kansas, most places.
Yeah,
okay,
be
you
my
got a
guest.
fan here from, I think they're from Mexico. Is that MX? They
Mexico?
say,
Oh wow.
Atlas Pro, any advice to someone who wants to do videos of similar topics to yours? How to choose topics, how, where to research, or other general advice?
You know, I found that the best videos I make and the best ones I enjoy the most are the ones where I talk about things that I really know about. So, you know, I try to make videos about things that I don't really know like that much. Like, obviously, I have a foundational knowledge on stuff, and like that allows you to make certain things, but it's a lot more satisfying to if you actually know everything, or not everything, but like if you know, if you're dealing with what you're best at, really. So whatever, you know, if you're trying to make videos like me, whatever you really know the best, like whether it's your backyard or, you know, global geography, you know, Mars geography, whatever, like I'd say just stick to what you know, because that's, you know, that's always where you're going to get the best result.
Yeah.
How I choose topics is, you know, what I know is what I've been researching. There's been a trend in my videos lately where I reference like at least two or three times in every video now an older video of mine, and it's like, where did I get this idea? I made this video. Like, I learned about this, I learned about that, I added them together, and then I made, you know, made this and that and this and that, and it all builds on itself. And as long as you like truly intake the information and use it to form the future of your thoughts, I don't know, that's where I get all my ideas from. That's where it all gets generated from. So yeah, do what you know. Don't try to talk about things that you don't know about, because people will point that out.
See, that's an opportunity to interview somebody. Would you ever consider doing that, like going to experts if you're out of your realm?
I have done that once, and it was very satisfying. I actually 2 videos ago I reached out to this other scientist who I secured an interview with him. I was super excited. It was this guy, Julian Bayless. He discovered these rainforests. He has like species named after him. Very like reputable scientist. Like, and he agreed to talk to me. And I had a question. I had questions that I wanted to ask him for the video, and it would have helped me figure something out. We couldn't do it. It didn't work out, but I definitely do want to incorporate like more interviews more. You know, I only did it once, worked out very well. I also want to include like more people like you. I don't know, just for discussions. I don't know if I ever made like a video about the US or something. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you'll be a voice maybe I'll ask you to be a voice on the next video of mine.
Geography is my number one passion, honestly, still, even more so than political history. People are surprised when I say that, but I mean, I know more about probably political history, but I'm more curious about just, you know, the
Yeah.
world.
Well, those also have such a high intersection point. Like, I know all of my history because I know geography. Like I know where France is and Spain is, and because I remember, their wars and where they colonized and everything, and like it all leads into each other. And in geography, I feel like is at the center of a lot of those fields, because in a way, I feel like we don't make similar videos at all. Like we don't talk about the
Yeah.
similar things, but we sort of do. Like we talk about places and we have maps and we have like, I don't know, stock footage of locations, and it feels like we talk about the same thing, but at the end of the day, like we do sort of have completely different different subjects.
Yeah, we do. Well, and I think we both have lots of possibilities, like broad possibilities for
Oh, yeah,
topics
for
too.
sure.
Like I have a list of maybe 500, 600 video ideas, and
I
quite
have
the
that
range.
note on my phone for sure. Just every single thing I've ever come up with.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, Nicholas, as a regular viewer there, what direction do you see the Democratic Party going in the future? I think, well, it's more wishful thinking, but I hope it becomes more populist and kind of like the direction that it went in the 1890s, but not, but obviously more progressive than that. Like in terms of like the Democratic Party has become too corporate in recent years, in my opinion, and I think that they're just now learning that we need to reach out more to blue collar America and especially rural America. They've lost that vote, and I understand why. Like,
Yeah, I don't like. This is a weird question because it's like, what can really happen? It's like, what are they doing wrong? And it's like, well, they're doing a lot of depends on what you ask. First off, like they're doing a lot of things wrong. They're just not that they're doing things wrong. They're not doing things right. Whatever whatever you say, like I don't know how to make I don't know where they're gonna go. They're probably gonna do more of the same if you ask me.
I've said this before, but if they have a candidate who can appeal to rural voters who says they're pro-life and pro-gun, they're going to win in a landslide.
So do you think that's what it takes, is just like a compromise on like two really like, I don't know, like
wedge issues?
Yeah, wedge issues.
Yeah. Honestly, you can still be pragmatic. I mean, I consider myself pro-gun and pro-life, but I'm also pragmatic, and I realize that you need to compromise because there's such divisive issues and even when I say pro-life, that's misleading, because I think if you're pro-choice, I think you're also pro-life. Like
yeah,
that,
I mean,
and somebody who wants more gun control is also pro-gun. So the labels need to go away. But I'm just saying, for marketing purposes, if they just like
that's always how it goes. Is like there's always just like one really simple phrase attached to like a very complex idea, and then people just like that's the end of it. Then it's like there's no discussion. It's just bad or good or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe we should think about things more and like come up with more than just yes or no answers.
What's amazing to me, though, overall, the Republican Party has done such a good job with marketing over the past 30 years. They've won races purely on that. Because if you look at actual policies, they're not the same as the rhetoric. And Republican Party has been more successful embracing populist rhetoric. They may still be with the elites, but you ask your average person in rural America, they wouldn't know that. Like, they think the Democratic Party is the party of the elites, which really both of them are the parties of elites. Let's be honest.
I mean, power, like elites have power and politics creates power. Like there's elites on all sides. Like there's no like
all of these
side of the elites and side of the rurals,
So yeah, I mean, it always comes down to marketing. I always say, like, a lot of times politicians are not the best people to get policies pushed through or laws passed. They're just the ones that are best at marketing themselves or marketing their parties. And that's how they get in there. And sometimes they get stuff done, but a lot of times they don't. Okay, we got a super chat. I better get that one. I just wanted to say, well, thank you, Geography World. Yeah.
Yeah, like all of these subjects just like intersect. It's that's what that's what this is really finding where all these things coincide and finding interesting threads through it all. And I think the more I do it, the more interesting it gets. Like the more my audience knows, the more things that I lead them to, the more I can bring them, advance their understanding even further. And that's something that is a lot of fun, especially as your channel gets older. You get to like make more, I don't know, not more personal or like in depth, but like more fitting exactly to what you've already taught your audience,
Yeah. No, I mean, you are becoming more of an expert on, like, that's kind of why I asked you a couple of the questions why I did, because like you've kind of found your niche already very, like,
Yeah.
despite it being potentially a very broad range.
Well, I try to keep things varied too. Like that is an important part about like of everything, balance. Like I make space videos, I make, geography videos. The video I made today, I consider to be like 100% geography, like raw, unadulterated geography. Last video I made was a biogeography video. Video before that was, a space video. So I try to keep it varied, but I try to keep like the same lens on it at all times. So it all, it all adds up to something. And the, what really I hope for is that there are people who watch all of my videos either all at once or as they come out, and they can follow along and they understand it more and more with every new video. But I don't know how many people there are like that, but because these videos last forever on the internet, it's like somebody could find all these 100 years from now and still find them equally as interesting.
That'd be cool.
Because, what we talk about, or at least what I talk about, it's not set in stone, but it's not changing all that much. Like weather patterns, climate, elevation, whatever environments, they don't change. I mean, unless we destroy them, and that's an aspect of making these videos, is educating us on environments that we've destroyed and that we are destroying. But there's still going to be interesting 100 years from now, because it's all just the same information and it all builds towards understanding. It's not like facts or knowledge or like enumerated ideas. It's like a system of understanding, like a concept. That's what I'm trying to build.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's cool.
And with your videos too, like now with every time some Supreme Court case comes up, you can just say I made the video. Just go watch that. I'm not talking about like it allows you to like streamline your process, and you have all these inbuilt resources where you get to talk about more advanced things because you're not so slowed down every time by going over the basics.
Right. Yeah. It's although some of my old videos really suck.
Yeah, well, that's the danger of it all.
I've redone some of them, in fact.
People watching their old videos.
I've redone Plessy v. Ferguson and Marbury v. Madison. I redid both of those.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like when you first get started, you don't realize like you're going to use like all your best ideas like immediately. It's like, oh, why was the first video I made about this like super interesting thing before I had any of the skills or like narrative building to like talk about this? Like this would make such a better video if I made it now. And it's like, well, it's how I learned. That's how I got here. And it is a brick in the wall.
That's the second time you said that, by the way. I like the thing. Okay, my bladder is starting to get full, so
all right. That means it's time to say goodbye.
So we'll wrap this up. Any last thing you want to say, or anything you want to promote while you're here?
I just released a video. Go subscribe if you watched and you thought that geography, geology, biology, and ecology sound like a good collection of words that you want to hear more of. Yeah, it shouldn't be easy to find. Just look up Atlas Pro.
Yes.
This is what I look like.
In the description of the video, I put a link. So
yeah, I just came out with a new video. Check it out, or don't. This will be old, so someday that video will be old too.
Someday we all will be dust.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thanks for joining me.
Well, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
I loved it when you reached out to me. It's always like a surprise to see who actually watches my videos. And
well, it's funny because I talk to other YouTubers occasionally, as you do, and I tell my girlfriend about them, and she'll be like, "I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is." But I told her about Mr. Beat, like, "Oh, I'm talking with Mr. Beat," and she was like, "Oh, Mr. Beat, like I know who Mr. Beat is." And it's
whoa,
like,
that's
well, she's a teacher, and I don't want to like hype you up or anything, but there is a small knowledge or presence of knowledge of Mr. Beat within the teaching
I think she
community.
thought you were talking about Mr. Beast, but
No, I don't think so. Maybe.
Yeah, but that's cool. Tell her to watch because she's going to get embarrassed. And
Oh, certainly. She can definitely hear me talking right now, too.
oh yeah, gotta love it. Gotta love it. And yeah, let's stay in touch. Thanks for
Yeah,
joining
great.
me.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see everyone later.
Bye.